What you said?
Don't say any spoilers, guys. We're the jury.
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the evidence given in the court and jury in the case now herein should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Sir. Thank you. You can take this.
I'm getting my cashews out for this. Damn.
Sir, could you pull the microphone down a little bit closer to you, please?
Yes, sir. Or yes, ma'am. Excuse me.
All right, whenever you're ready, Mr. Brennan.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
So my name is Timothy Nuttall. I'm 28 years old. I've been a firefighter paramedic ever since I graduated high school. I graduated in 2015. I took my EMT class and got my certification while I was actually still in high school. From there, I moved on to the BLS transfer side of EMS. There's 911 EMS, and then there's transfer, which is basically back and forth from hospital to hospital. I was brand new and very young, so I started on the transfer side, kind of learning the job. I started primarily in the city of Chelsea, Everett, Malden, Somerville, up there. And then after a little while, I got my feet wet in the 911 side. So I was running BLS 911 in those cities as well. And then I progressed on to become a paramedic. So
Why do you have such an interest in being a first responder at a young age?
I kind of grew up in a first responder household. My father was a firefighter in a local town, so we spent kind of a significant amount of time at the station when he was on shift. It's just kind of how I grew up.
We're covering that one.
Kind of learning the ins and outs of public safety. That's just kind of how I came to be interested in the profession, and then I took it from there. So
I want to take us back just a little bit. When you first became interested in training to be a first responder, did you share with us your first training was as an EMT?
yes, sir.
Can you share a little bit with the jury what that entails?
So to become an EMT, there are two sides of EMS, and then there are two sides of providers. There's EMT basic, and then there's paramedic. To answer your question, sir, to start as an EMT, it's about a 4-month process. You take classes. I believe mine was Tuesday, Thursday, every other Saturday. Learning just anatomy and physiology, basic pharmacology, and kind of how medications interact with the body and different disease processes. From there, you start learning basic interventions, backboarding, C-collars.
As part of your work in learning to be an EMT, are you active in the field?
The initial training is, like I said, it's mostly classroom-based, but once you sit your national written tests and you're able to pass all that and pass practical, then you're able to progress into the field.
And did you succeed through the EMT training?
Yes, sir.
At that point, did you decide you wanted more training? You wanted to proceed through the profession?
Yes, sir. So after a little while, I worked for about a year and a half in the field and decided that I genuinely enjoyed the work that I was doing. I then made the decision to progress to the paramedic level. That's a significantly more challenging
Thank you for sharing.
academic portion. And
Can you briefly share with us a little bit of the training that you needed to complete to be a paramedic?
yes, paramedic training is about, I would say, generally takes people about 2 years to complete. There's about 1 year of classroom. It delves far deeper into not only diseases, but how they interact with multiple body systems, multiple different treatment modalities that we can pursue, multiple different interventions, a whole host of medications, far more medications as.
If you guys could do me a favor and tap on this side of the screen while we listen, I would greatly appreciate it.
Than a BLS. As a paramedic, I have a much wider range of drugs that I would be able to select to treat different patients.
As you worked through your training and got this experience, did you ultimately become employed by the Canton Fire Department?
Yes, sir.
What did they hire you as?
They hired me as a firefighter paramedic.
And so you were both a firefighter and a paramedic?
Yes, sir.
Does the Canton Police Department in their units, do they include paramedics and firefighters in the same division?
The Canton Police Department or the Canton Fire?
The Canton Fire Department.
Canton Fire Department, the vast majority of the employees of the Canton Fire Department are paramedics. I believe there are I want to say 5 EMTs, but now as a requirement to remain employed by the Canton Fire Department, you have to become and maintain a paramedic certification.
So when you would go to work as a firefighter or paramedic, was it always the same, or did you get assigned as a firefighter one night and a paramedic a different night?
So we would cross-man trucks. We were always fire suppression personnel, but we were also cross-trained as paramedics. So, for example, if a fire call were to come in the town of Canton, and I was assigned to Ambulance 1 for the day, I would take all my equipment off Ambulance 1, and I would transfer it to Ladder 1, and then we would take Ladder 1 to the fire call and operate as fire suppression personnel. If a medical call were to come in, I'm assigned again to Ambulance 1, then we take on the role as EMS. I take my paramedic skills and put them to work in the town on Ambulance 1.
Let me ask you one more background question about how the Canton Fire Department works. When there's a call, an emergency call, is an ambulance sent with other vehicles or alone to the call?
Yes, sir. It's typically the engine of that district and the ambulance of that district. Depending on call volume, that can change, but if all is not to use the word quiet, it's kind of a taboo word, but if all is everybody's in quarters and there's a dispatch in District 1, it'll be Canton Engine 3 and Canton Ambulance 1, and they go as a unit together.
Mr. Nuttall, I want you to take us back, if you would, to the early morning hours of January 22nd, 2022. I want you to bring us a little bit before 6 a.m. Do you remember what you were doing?
Yes, sir. So that particular morning, I arrived at work earlier than I normally do. There was inclement weather that morning, so I left earlier than normal just to get in before the roadways got particularly difficult to travel and to relieve anybody that may need to get out if they needed to get home before the roads got particularly bad. I arrived just before 6 a.m. I was walking in. I was assigned to Ambulance 1 for that oncoming 24. I was scheduled to be there at 8 a.m.
Could you share with us a little bit about how the weather was as you arrived around 6 a.m.?
It wasn't great. I was driving. It's about a 35-minute ride for me to get to Canton. The roads were starting to they weren't great. They had been treated, but they weren't pristine. The wind was starting to pick up. The snow was starting to come down a little heavier, which is the reason that I left at the time I did.
And so I may have misspoke. January 29th, 2022, that morning, around 6:04, did you hear a tone or did you hear an alarm?
So the tones went off right as I entered the building.
Tell us what a tone is.
So the tone is the emergency alert tone. In the town of Canton, we have 3. We have 1 for fire, we have 1 for investigation, and we have 1 for EMS. The EMS tones went off and the lights came on. Whenever the tones go off, the lights come on as well. I was just walking into the building when the tones went off and the lights came on.
And is there information that accompanies the tone, information about the call that needs response?
Yes. So after the tones had cleared, there's an overhead dispatch, which is our dispatch center communicates to us before we get in the trucks and on the air responding. Basic nature of the call. In that particular instance, we were dispatched to an unresponsive male and a snowbank with no real further information to follow up on.
So what do you do?
So as I said, I arrived pretty early that morning. But hearing that dispatch and that nature of the call, those typically tend to be more involved, both personnel-wise and work-wise. The crew that was working that morning was getting on the truck, and it was firefighter paramedic Anthony Flamati and firefighter EMT Matt Kelly. Matt Kelly has since become a paramedic, but at the time he was an EMT. So off the bat, that crew, not to say that they were at a disadvantage, but paramedic Flamati was the only paramedic on that ambulance.
What did you do?
So I made the decision. I checked with the shift commander. and I jumped on ambulance 1 to just give a second set of hands as being a paramedic myself, just being able to hopefully help if there was any advanced interventions that needed to be done or needed to be performed.
What
And
happened?
just a second set of hands.
What happens next?
So I got in the back of the truck. I was actually still in civilian clothing at the time because I had just walked in the door. So I got in the back of ambulance 1 in the patient compartment. The other 2 gentlemen were up front driving to the scene. I actually had to don my turnout gear because again I was in civilian clothing. I wasn't quite ready to go, so I had to put all my structural turnout gear on and then my can fire jacket. Once I was sufficiently dressed for the call, I started prepping all the gear that we might need for a call such as that for an unresponsive male in the snow. In this case, it was our first aid bag, our airway bag, and our cardiac monitor. Everything was all together. They were all in 3 separate bags. But I just, on the way there, I just got in. I didn't know how their night had gone, so I just took a real quick look at everything just to make sure everything was there and everything was exactly how it needed to be. So I was able to just grab all 3 bags, put them on my person, and get ready to, so as soon as the ambulance was on scene, just step off and go to work.
Not knowing much information about what you're going to confront, what goes through your mind as you prepare before you get off the ambulance?
Just basic scenarios. I mean, again, unresponsive male in the snow could mean several things. Not having much to go off on the dispatch was, it left much to be desired in terms of what we might need. So in gathering all the equipment together, that can kind of cover all the major bases, if you will, in terms of what we were expecting to meet once we got on scene.
How was your focus before you get off the ambulance?
I was ready to go. A dispatch like that, any unresponsive male in the snow, it can kind of up the level because you just don't know what you're walking into. You know, it could be anything.
In the back of the ambulance, you can't see outside. Could you tell anything about the weather conditions based on the way the ambulance was moving?
Again, being in the back, as you noted, it just seemed to be taking a little bit longer than normal. I really had no visibility at all. Like I said, I was in the patient compartment. It's very limited visibility in the back, and it's limited visibility. There's like a peephole that's maybe 1.5 by 1.5 to kind of peek up front. But again, I was so busy getting everything together, I really didn't notice, but I did note it took a little bit longer. We were going not slow, but we were going cautiously.
When the ambulance finally stopped and the doors opened, tell the jury what you see.
So as I mentioned, I had the 2 bags and the cardiac monitor, so 3 pieces of equipment with me, and I stepped out of the back of the side of the truck. There's a back compartment, or a back door, and a side door. I stepped out of the side door, and I immediately noted the wind had picked up, and the snow seemed to be heavier, and I could hear like a distant screaming off in the distance. Wasn't exactly sure where it was coming from.
What was the visibility like?
It wasn't great. It was still dark out. The sun had not come up yet. The snow was coming down, as I said, heavily, and it wasn't great all around.
Was it cold?
It was cold. Yes, sir.
And so when you hear the screams, what do you do next?
I started making my way kind of towards the sound, following the sounds. I couldn't see anybody yet, so I just kind of followed the sounds, and then once I was able to get around the side of the truck, that's when I was able to see a group of 3 individuals with Canton Police, and I started making my way over to them to see where the patient might be located and what was going on.
As you get closer, tell us what you see.
So as we approached the scene, as I said, there were 3 individuals, and Canton Police were on scene as well. And then there was what appeared to be a human figure laying supine in the snow. I'd say about 6 to 8 feet, kind of where the sidewalk met the front lawn of a residence.
What does supine mean?
So he was laying on his back. From there, I made my way directly over to that individual and started checking for signs of life.
How do you check? Do you get close? Do you get down on the ground?
Yep, so I knelt right at his head. Typically, to check for any signs of life, it's just as you see in TV or anything like that. You check the carotid pulse. and you check for any signs of breathing or anything like that.
Where is the carotid pulse?
So the carotid pulse will be right in the neck. Like and just real quick, 2 seconds, you can check either side. They're on both sides. Those are the strongest pulses that you can grab quickly. So I just real quick went right to that gentleman. Like I said, I looked for any signs of breathing. I found none. I checked a carotid pulse, and I found none.
How was his skin to the touch?
He was very cold to the touch.
He wasn't warm?
No.
So after you touched his cold skin and you felt the carotid artery, is that how you
Yes, sir. Carotid artery.
Did you come to any initial quick assessments or conclusions in your mind?
So I found, like I said, I checked for signs of life, the carotid, the signs of breathing. I found none. From there, we had ascertained that there was no signs of life. As I was checking that, the other 2 individuals on the ambulance came and met me, and they began doing the same thing just to check. I mean, sometimes you can look and you can miss. So the other paramedic, Anthony Flamati, started checking my work, and then we kind of went from there. But I found no signs of life in my initial.
So firefighter paramedic Flamati arrived.
Don't worry, I'll upload the live after it's done. It just takes me a couple hours to do it, to download it, then re-upload it again. Don't worry, I'll put it on my YouTube. And if you guys are not following my YouTube, make sure you guys go over there and subscribe. Same name, Michelle's Criminal Musings. Link in bio.
To this person after you did.
Yes, sir. I was the first one to actually put hands on the individual and check for signs of life.
And did you later learn the name of this man?
I did.
And what was that?
John O'Keefe.
After you found those signs of life for John O'Keefe, did you get up and go to speak to anybody?
I did. So, as being a second set of hands on the call, it's really not my call, like in terms of treatment modalities and how we want to progress. So after I found no signs of life, I kind of got up to kind of look around real quick. I went over to the individuals, the 3 individuals that were there, and just said, "Hey, I just have found no signs of life. We're gonna see the next steps." And as I was saying that was when Anthony Flamati, who is the lead paramedic on this, made the decision. This is a workable cardiac arrest.
Let me ask you 2 questions. The first is, as a paramedic firefighter, are there times when you're the lead paramedic on a call?
Yes, sir.
And so it changes call by call, but this one was firefighter or paramedic Flamati's lead.
Correct. He was the lead paramedic on this call.
Are there other times when you're the lead and firefighter or paramedic Flamati is on your crew and you lead?
Yes, sir. So we typically switch off. We'll do one, and then once my rotation is complete, we'll do the next one. So it's patient for patient, typically.
When firefighter paramedic Flamati called you back and said it was a workable situation, can you explain to the jury what that means?
Yes. So in medicine, there is a term that is, you're not dead until you're warm and dead. Meaning your core temperature, your core body temperature has to be within normal limits for it to be considered a futile attempt at resuscitation. Noting that, Tony, the other paramedic, Tony Flamati, realized that this gentleman was very cold to the touch, and that this was now a hypothermic cardiac arrest, or a cardiac arrest in a hypothermic setting, which means as providers, we have a duty to initiate life-saving measures, CPR, ventilation, and continue those efforts until we get into a hospital and a physician is able to take over and they are able to monitor his core body temperature for a certain amount of time.
I want to ask you about a term you used. You said
No, this isn't live. We're viewing it day 1 as a virtual jury. And she's frozen because it's a picture.
hypothermic situation. As a firefighter paramedic treating a patient at the scene, you're not diagnosing hypothermia, are you?
No, sir.
So you're not making a medical diagnosis, you're just saying it's a hypothermic situation because of why?
Just because of the conditions, he was extremely cold to the touch, and He was in the elements. We didn't know how long, so taking the fact that he is extremely cold to the touch and he had been outside for an unknown amount of time, that quantifies it to us as a hypothermic arrest or a cardiac arrest in a hypothermic setting.
Is there anything about Mr. O'Keefe's fingers or hands or his face that gave you any indication if he had been there just recently or had been there for a while?
His fingers were quite cold. They were not well perfused at all. They were very, very.
I don't know. What if not perfused me?
Sorry, there was did not appear to have been any blood flow at all. Just because he was, again, presumably being outside, his fingers were very, very white. They were very stiff, which can be signs of hypothermia and frostbite. And again, touching the neck. So typically when you get cold, you kind of work back from your extremities in. So again, I noted his fingers were quite cold, but also when I checked his carotid, his neck felt quite cold as well. That just kind of tipped us back further down the road of a hypothermic cardiac arrest.
I see. When firefighter Flamati called you back,
Yep.
Where did you go exactly?
When I was told that this is what we're doing, I turned around and I went right back to where I previously knelt, which was right at Mr. O'Keefe's head. And then I took over the ventilation aspect of a cardiac arrest. So I was in charge of the airway. So I began giving him positive pressure ventilations with that valve mask, which is just a glorified balloon that you can push oxygen through and down into your respiratory tract to get oxygen moving. While I was doing that, I believe firefighter EMT Kelly had begun CPR.
So is this fair to say it's a team effort?
Yes, sir.
A coordinated effort?
Very much so.
And depending on where you're placed, whether in the back of the ambulance or driving or leading, does every...
He's not running the call. There's one other paramedic that was part of that team, but they only had one, so he went with them to be the backup. He's not the one. He's not the main paramedic. He's just helping them out.
Everybody have an important role to play?
Yes. Yeah, we work in conjunction with each other. Typically, the most well-defined roles in a cardiac arrest in EMS is...
I need you to do me a favor, though, guys. Please, when you type stuff like he's a liar, put IMO or in my opinion after. Because a lot of time people come here with facts and they'll say, oh, I heard Michelle said this. And I just really don't have time for that. So please put IMO after that stuff. Thank you.
Your airway monitor, which was myself in this situation, and then your cardiac and medication administration, which is, that would be Anthony Flamati, that would be Tony. Just because of my position at the head,
We've been listening since he's been on the stand. He was not the one running the call. This was somebody else's team, and they only had one paramedic. He was another paramedic. He figured he would go to help them out. That's his testimony, not mine. I'm just the middle person.
took over the ventilation aspect, and that was where I remained throughout the call.
You said you went back to try to help Mr. O'Keefe, and you were helping at the airway. Do you have to actually get on the ground to do that?
Yes, sir. I was kneeling at his head.
While you were kneeling at his head, well, let me ask you more of a background question. Is it helpful to get information about the history of the person when you're trying to treat them when you happen upon a scene and you don't know the history?
Yes, sir, very much. Getting information on medications, history, and allergies is our top priorities in any call, not even this call, just really any your run-of-the-mill fall or chest pain. That's typically the first questions that we ask. What medications are you on? What medical history do you have? And do you have any allergies? The medical history is important because if you've had heart attacks in the past, or just using a generalized example, if you've had heart attacks in the past, does this feel like a previous heart attack? It kind of gives us something to go off of.
As you were kneeling, I want you to take us to that moment. As you're kneeling, trying to help Mr. O'Keefe, did you have a chance at any point to look up?
We're not either. We're going into this blind. That's why we're doing the virtual jury. What I can tell you is she's charged with second-degree murder, motor vehicle manslaughter, leaving the scene of a collision causing death. That's all I got.
I did.
And when you looked up when you were trying to help Mr. O'Keefe, can you tell us who you saw?
I saw a
Thank you for the
middle-aged
follow.
female, middle-aged female, with blood on her face. And I, real quick, as I was in the process of providing ventilations, I said, do you know this person?
The person that you looked up and saw that was standing over you with blood on her face, do you recognize that person in this courtroom?
Yes, sir.
With the court's permission, sir, could you point out that person that you looked up and saw?
It's, in between Mr. Jackson or next to Mr. Jackson.
I see. And when you looked up and saw that person and asked about any background, what did she say to you?
I hit him.
How clearly do you remember her words saying to you, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him?
I remember it very distinctly.
You've been to a lot of calls over the years and since.
Yes, sir.
Would you say hundreds or thousands?
Thousands.
Do you remember all of them?
I remember aspects of various calls, but not all of them, no.
Do some stand out more than others?
Yes, sir.
Did this particular moment stand out more as compared to your typical or most calls that you've been to?
It did, just because of the setting. I mean, it was the weather, it was the unknown factors, and it was the attempting to try and get information and not really being able to glean anything from that.
After the defendant said to you, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, did you ask any follow-up questions?
I really didn't get a chance to, because following that, the individual just kind of walked away, or just kind of went in a different direction. I wasn't able to ask any follow-up questions.
Have you ever received any police training?
No, sir.
Are you a police officer?
No, sir.
When you're helping a patient, do you have any interest in detective work?
No, sir.
Do you have any interest in investigating potential crimes?
At that time, in this particular instance, because I was at the airway, that is a pretty critical aspect of a cardiac arrest. I was stuck there. I couldn't get up and kind of follow up on that at all. I was there doing that ventilation.
Is it your job to investigate cases or simply to get information to help treatment?
Just the information.
When you go out as a firefighter paramedic, do you have a purposeful cause?
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
To save lives.
And is that your only focus?
In this instance, it was attempting to restore circulation and breathing.
At some point with your colleagues, did you lift Mr. O'Keefe from the ground?
We did.
When you lift him, what do you put him on?
So we put him on, it's called a scoop stretcher. It's basically just a hard plastic moving device with some seatbelts on it, just to get the patient up and onto the stretcher, and then from there we can move from the stretcher to the ambulance.
After you lift him to the stretcher, tell us what happens next.
So we put Mr. O'Keefe on the scoop stretcher, and we were able to get him onto the stretcher itself and then off to the ambulance. From there, I maintained my role as the airway individual on this call. So we made our way to the ambulance. I got in the tech seat, which is directly behind where the stretcher locks in. So I had access to the airway again. I was continuing to provide positive pressure ventilations to Mr. O'Keefe, and we had put in an OPA as well, which is just a plastic hook, if you will. It just keeps the tongue from falling back into the airway, so we can continue to provide positive pressure ventilations. Once we got him in the truck and we continued that effort, we set up a suction system, and we prepared to intubate Mr. O'Keefe. We prepared a suction system just because as I was ventilating outside the ambulance, there were some secretions in the airway that I could see, and you could kind of hear it as you go to squeeze in breaths into the individual. You can kind of hear the secretions kind of getting like bubbly and stuff like that. So we knew we were going to need to suction him. So
Pause for a minute, because Tammy, how does one sound autistic? I'm just curious.
we got him in the truck. We really quickly suctioned him, and then we were able to intubate him successfully to definitively give him an advanced airway and give him better ventilations, get more oxygen into his system.
Now, you mentioned that he wasn't warm, he was very cold.
No, he was still very cold.
What does the team do?
I'm still a little bit confused. I didn't know you could sound autistic. My nephew's autistic, but he doesn't have a certain sound to him.
To try to assist with that?
The most basic thing that we did, we turned the heat on as high as it would go. We also stripped all of his clothing off, just getting all of that wet clothing off of him. I didn't really have a role in that particular part of it, just because once you're on the airway, that is kind of yours. Nobody can breathe for him, so every time I squeeze that bag, he gets a breath. So I'm kind of tied to that airway for the duration of the call.
So when your colleagues are stripping the clothes off him, is your attention on the clothes or more on the airway in your job?
No, I'm maintaining the airway.
I think he sounds nervous too, and slightly cocky. Thank you for clarifying, Tammy. I don't. We're gonna have to agree to disagree. I don't see that, but I do hear nerves. I don't know.
If an endotracheal tube is dislodged for whatever reason, it is typically more difficult to get one in. So the integrity of that tube staying where it is and not being dislodged, that is another key aspect of airway management.
As you're doing that, do you notice what anybody else, any of your colleagues are doing to help?
Like I said, they were working on clothing removal. I believe they were also getting intravenous and intraosseous access on this individual to begin medication administration. But again, I was quite focused on that airway, just making sure that it was maintained and we didn't lose any tube. We didn't lose any end-tidal CO2, which is just another monitoring device that we use to confirm that that tube is in place.
That's what I'm
How
thinking,
quickly do
Tammy.
you get to leave the scene and start moving towards the hospital?
I honestly couldn't give you an accurate estimate. It didn't seem to be out of the ordinary realm, though. We were able to move within the flow.
In addition to Mr. Keefe being very cold, did you notice any other injuries on him?
So I noted that he had a hematoma right above his right eye.
Could you explain to us what that is?
Yep, it's just, for lack of a better term, it's just a big egg. He had a pretty good bump over his eye.
And you said his right eye.
Yes, sir.
Did you know how that hematoma was caused?
No, sir.
No idea?
No.
In addition to the hematoma above his right eye, what other injuries did you see?
There were also several scratches on his right arm, just below his shoulder and traveling down his right humerus. They terminated right about his right elbow, just above it.
Those scratches, have you also described them as abrasions?
Yes, sir.
Is there any difference in your mind, difference between scratches and abrasions?
Nope. These were they were deep,
Thank you.
and they were not bleeding, but they were notably
close.
deep.
Did you ever describe it as furrows?
I did.
And in describing those scratches, do you have any idea how they were caused?
No, sir.
And did you notice any other injuries on Mr. O'Keefe?
No, sir. Those were the only ones that we noted. As I mentioned, we suctioned a little bit of blood out of the back of his airway as well. I believe it was blood, mucus, and saliva. But those were the extent of the injuries that I was able to note.
Did you notice anything about the back of his head?
Actually, yes, I did. I apologize. There seemed to be a little bit of matted blood around in his hair around there. Really didn't see anything too obvious at the time. He was also placed in a cervical collar as well, following intubation, and that was kind of there just to maintain his cervical spine. But there was, like I said, there was noted to be a little bit of dry blood on the back of his head.
At some point, did you finally make your way with Mr. O'Keefe to the Good Samaritan Hospital?
Yes, sir.
And just share with us what happens when you get there.
So after after we got there, we handed off care to Good Samaritan Medical's physicians and ER nurses. We were able to give a report to the physician of just basic what we've done, what we've given for medications. In my case, what he was intubated with and how he was being ventilated, how well he was being ventilated, and any other further pertinent information. Typically, we noted that Tony was the lead paramedic, so that is typically he kind of holds the room for a minute when we get in there, gives a big rundown, and then we back off and let Good Samaritan take over.
When the defendant told you that she hit him, did that have any significance to you?
No, sir.
Did it reconcile with the injuries that you saw before you that Mr. O'Keefe was suffering from?
No, sir.
And so at that point, was that information insignificant in light and perspective of your care? Okay. What role did that information play in your care after the defendant told you she hit him? How did that contribute or not contribute to what you were doing?
It really didn't help at the time. Again, I wasn't able to chase anything down from that. I just kind of took it, noted it, and moved on with my aspect of the cardiac arrest.
Have you had an opportunity at any point to see any video of that morning taken from any source, a police car, dash cam?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'd like to introduce a video stream.
So this will be in evidence? There are agreements with some of the evidence already?
I believe there's no objection, but I don't want to speak for the defense.
Okay, thank you. Yes, you can show it.
And for the record, if I may note, this is Cruiser 683 Stream 2. I'm sorry. It is Cruiser 683 Stream 2. I'm going to have to play a portion of it that's relevant to Mr. Nuttall. Ms. Gillum, if you would please move to 6:11 a.m.
This is the first witness.
Please stop the video. Mr. Nuttall, do you see the red lights reflecting on the left?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what those red lights are?
Presumably, those would be ambulance 1.
Yeah, so not what you presume. Do you know what they are, sir?
And those are the lights for ambulance 1.
Do you see the weather conditions as it's depicted on this video?
Yes, sir.
As you stood outside, was it same or different to how it appears in this video?
That is the same.
When you look to the left, you see a straight line about an inch or two from the left of the screen. Do you know what that item is?
Sorry, sir. Repeat the question.
If you look to the left of the screen, you'll see a straight item from the bottom halfway up the picture. Do you know what that item is?
I believe that's a flagpole, sir.
Do you see a little bit of movement of bodies near that flagpole?
At the present time, no.
Okay. Could we continue to play, please?
Yep, there they are.
He's screaming.
Could you stop, please? Did you see the first person in line now behind the person with in front of the person with the blue hat?
I'm sorry, sir. Can you back it up like 10 seconds?
Certainly. Keep going, please. Do you know who that person is?
I believe that's me, sir.
Okay. Could you please continue? Is this your first assessment?
Yes, sir.
Just
This
people
is
can't see
ascertaining any signs of life or breathing.
Massachusetts.
Is that you approaching?
Yes, sir.
Could you stop, please? After informing your return, is that after firefighter Flamati called you?
So right after that, when I turned around, that was when Tony said, "Hey, we're working this."
Okay. Please continue. Stop, please. And do you see a person come over to where you are?
Yes, sir.
Is it at that point or another moment when the defendant said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him?
It was right there, sir.
Here it is.
Could you continue, please? Can you stop for a moment? There's no voices or noises from people coming through that audio. When you were there that night throughout the event, was it silent or were people speaking? Did you hear people speaking?
There was, as I noted when I got out of the truck, there was quite a bit of screaming. It was quite chaotic. The wind was also a factor, but there were people around. They were speaking within themselves too, but there was screaming, there was wind, and there was different side conversations as well.
And when you were working on Mr. O'Keefe, were you having conversations with your colleagues?
Yes, sir.
They're not picked up on the audio?
No, sir.
Please continue.
I didn't hear it either.
Sir, are you still at the flagpole?
Yes, sir. I'm kneeling at the head of the patient.
Are you included in that group of first responders?
I am not, sir. I have actually exited to the side with the bags. I believe I'm entering the ambulance at this point.
Okay. Thank you. We can conclude the viewing. With the court's permission, I'd like to approach and show a few exhibits to Mr. Nuttall. They've been shown to the defense.
Yes,
Thank you. May I approach?
yes.
Thank you.
I didn't hear anything. Aside from her screaming and crying. I never heard her say anything.
Can I show you a photograph?
Yes, sir.
Sir, do you recognize what's in that photograph?
Yes, sir. Those are the scratches on Mr. O'Keefe's arm.
Does that appear the same as when you saw his arm that morning, or is there any differences? And if there's any differences, can you share them with us?
That appears how they were to me at the time of the incident.
Okay. May I approach the arm?
Yes.
I'd like to introduce this as an exhibit, please.
Okay.
There wasn't a whole bunch of stuff.
I'm going to hand you a,
Hold on.
I'm sorry,
Thank you.
right here. May we publish to the jury?
Yes.
Thank you for the follow.
Is that the photograph you just identified on the screen?
Yes, sir.
Showing you a second photograph, I'd like to ask you some questions about it.
Can we take that one down, Mr. Brennan?
Yes, of course.
Please, Ms. Gilman.
Thank you. Does that photograph, you recognize that area?
Yes, sir.
Is that the same, or substantially the same area where you helped try to treat John O'Keefe?
Yes, sir.
Does that look to be a fair and accurate representation of the area?
It does.
With the court's permission, I would introduce this as an exhibit, please.
Okay, and there's no objection to any of these?
Just in
three?
case.
Okay, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just in case.
With the court's permission, could I publish exhibit 2?
Yes.
And sir, that you recognize as the area where you were helping to treat John O'Keefe.
Yes, sir.
I've left one last photograph in front of you.
Yes, sir.
And do you recognize that?
I do.
Tell us about any differences between when you were there and what you see in that photograph.
The street appears to be plowed. There's bare pavement. The weather conditions are significantly better. It is also daytime.
If we could take down that exhibit 2, Ms. Gilman.
That's
May I
it for
approach, Your Honor?
daytime.
Yes,
I would move to introduce this as exhibit 3.
all right.
With the court's permission, I'd like to publish exhibit 3.
Sure.
Is that the photo you just identified?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we can take that down, thank you. Thank you, sir. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right.
Can't wait to hear the cross. No, we're on day 1.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I?
Yes, please.
Good morning, good afternoon, Firefighter Nuttall.
Good afternoon, sir.
Nice to see you again.
You as well.
Before your testimony this morning, how many conversations had you had with any member of the prosecution team in anticipation of your testimony today?
I believe it was 3, sir.
When were those?
I could not give you dates off the top of my head.
Give me a time frame. Within the last 3 weeks, within the last 3 months, last 3 days?
Within the last 3 weeks, I believe one the week after that, and then one last night.
One
Last night.
last night. What you did discuss, let's take them in order. First of all, who'd you meet with 3 weeks ago?
I met with Mr. Brennan and his staff.
And when you say his staff, who else?
I honestly couldn't tell you, sir.
Mr. Lally?
No. No, sir.
Aaron, I think she was framed.
Oh.
We're going to go over the evidence for a second, guys. What we have so far. My notebook broke. Ignore me. There's no injury to the cold, but yet he was found in the snow. There's a bunch of marks on his arm that look like they were from an animal scratch or bite. There's no injuries that would say it was a car strike. No hypothermia. They say he died somewhere warm. The snowplow driver that went there at 2:30 a.m. did not see a body there. So the snow that was there, we saw that. There was no hiding that, right? And then there was a Ford Edge car moved by where the body was found that belonged to the Albert family. This is where it takes another turn. I can't remember if it's officer or detective. Higgins goes to the police station in the middle of a supposed blizzard, which, Aaron, we lived in Maine. That was not a blizzard. But okay. He goes to the police station 2 a.m. in the middle of a so-called blizzard. And he calls the homeowner, who also happens to be officer or detective. But they denied that call. And then right after, they got rid of their phones. I'm not done.
That's kind of suspicious.
The dogs, the scratches, they had a dog. Right after this happened, they got rid of the dog. Coincidentally, the house where it happened, they also decided to sell it. There was a Google search done right after that call was made from that officer or detective to the other officer and or detective. There was a search done, and the search was how long to die in the cold. It was actually HOS because she mistyped. How long to die in the cold. She searched that. Then she went, I don't remember who it was though, and then went back and deleted her search history. Then at 5 a.m., Karen Reed wakes up and realizes John didn't come home. As she's leaving in her SUV, she bumps another car and it cracks her back taillight. Now, when the body was found, they walked around the body. They didn't see nothing the first time. After he already had custody of Karen Reed's car, the investigator suddenly found, you want to take a guess?
Let me guess. Lights?
Light fragments. Suddenly they're there. But there's no DNA on them. And they're saying that's what cut his arm, but there's no DNA. Now, another thing is there was the shoes that he was wearing, that John O'Keefe was wearing, had DNA of 5 people on it. None of them were found in the system. Now, I wrote down here, Kate McLaughlin is friends with Caitlin Albert, Brian's daughter. This is a medical professional, EMT, I believe. That was the head. Is friends with the persons who own the house where, the Albert family.
Mm.
The state trooper that investigated this is also close to that family. And he was found on his back in the snow in front of the Albert's house. Keep in mind, the snowplow did not see him there. He said he was not there when he went by. Now get this. His fingers were white and stiff.
If he was out there all night, there would have been at least some form of, while alive, there would have been some form of frostbite setting in.
Yes, but there wasn't.
Which means his blood was already cold.
You want to hear the real kicker? Here's the real kicker, guys. The medical examiner will not rule this as a homicide.
So why is she in court?
Because they've decided it's a homicide.
Who decided it was?
I don't even know anymore. There's so many different people in this, and they're all law enforcement.
Okay, so
Her first trial, guys, close your ears. Her first trial was a mistrial. So they're trying again. Now, the person that was just on the stand a minute ago said that Karen Reed said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. We listened to that, didn't we, guys? We didn't hear any, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. We heard her crying and screaming, but we never heard anything like I hit him. That's where we're at. And that was just the first witness. Now it's the defense's turn to cross-examine him. Hi, Binksy Boo. You guys, we've never had a case like this that, in my opinion, as it stands right now, stinks of corruption.
O.J. Simpson.
Well, I wasn't part of that case. I'm talking about a case right now.
Okay, fair enough.
Except he's friends with them. Yeah, that's right. So we're on 3 pages of notes, and I can't wait to hear what the defense is going to ask him. So without further ado, let's listen. Babe, can you put this away? I can't drink it.
Male, female,
One female, one, I believe, state trooper.
okay. Had you ever met State Trooper Tully previously?
Yes, sir. Actually, I believe that was him.
It was State Trooper Tully?
Yes, sir.
Whom you've met with several times, correct?
Prior to that, I believe.
Andy, it's okay because I missed it at first, but thank you for clarifying. Thank you.
Only once or twice.
He was the one that he has formally interviewed you previously, correct?
I believe he arranged the meetings with Mr. Brennan.
Okay.
Beyond that, I can't speak to.
What did y'all discuss 3 weeks ago?
You know what? Hold on. Since we're here and we just went over all of the opening statements, it's time for a poll. Just off of what we know right now, what we just went over, if you think she is being framed, put a smile face. If you think that she's not being framed, the cry face. You just have to tap them, not type them in. I don't pick the emotes. TikTok does, so just tap whichever one you think. The smile is she's being framed. The cry face is something else. Now I see why so many of you asked for this case.
That's definitely a doozy.
You know how when we do it as a jury, we don't do any research? This is going to be really hard to not research. Really freaking hard to not research. I'm telling you, I want to go on Reddit and see what people have on there.
What?
Come on, guys, vote. There's over 116 people in here. We have 10 seconds left. Smile face, she's being framed. Cry face, something else. You gotta click it. I don't make the rules. I just work here. 29-2. Thank you guys for voting. Exactly. His body was not hit by a car. It's a good theory. We'll discuss it in deliberations. Thank you for the
first
follow.
meeting, going in order, it was mostly just kind of an introduction. I had not met Mr. Brennan yet. I really didn't know him. So it was mostly that, and then just kind of seeing where we were at with testimony, going over previous testimony in that sort of realm.
Prior to today, how many times have you testified under oath concerning the incident on January 29th, 2022?
Once at a grand jury hearing and once last year.
All right. As a matter of fact, last year in this courtroom.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you look over your testimony at the grand jury
I'll look it up.
3
Thank you,
weeks ago
Panda.
during that meeting?
No, sir.
What about the testimony from last year?
We did go over the testimony from last year. Yes, sir.
Were there any issues that Mr. Brennan or anybody else in that meeting brought up concerning any of your testimony?
There was just a question of how many times the I hit him came up. It was 3 times.
And
Really quickly, we did forget something. In the beginning, They were talking about, I believe somebody named John was trying to talk with Karen Reed, messaging her, hitting on her, stuff like that. Does anyone know who that John is? Because you know where I'm going with that, right? Was that John one of the 5 officers? It just, yeah, it just, I remember hearing it, but just in my brain, it's like, Michelle, here, look at this. I'm not going to tell anyone to look it up because we're the jury and we can't do that. So we'll just continue on.
Were you advised that that's not what you said at your testimony last year?
No, sir.
2 times?
What was it?
You said it was 2 times last year?
I honestly can't recall, sir.
Okay, but you just saw that, or you just read that and went over that 3 weeks ago.
I believe so, sir. Yeah.
But you can't remember, as you sit here today, just 3 weeks ago, what y'all discussed in terms of how many times you previously testified that you heard the phrase, I hit him.
So previously testified possibly to 2, but it was 3.
Okay. Your memory is clearer now than it was, for instance, a year ago when you testified.
Repeat that?
Sure. Your memory is clearer now, as you sit here, that it was 3 times you heard that, than it was a year ago when you testified that it was 2 times.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does your memory get better?
Hold on. We got to write this down. When he last testified, he said she only said, I hit him twice. So first testify, hit him 2 times.
With time, generally. Your memory. I'm not talking about the royal you. I'm talking about you.
In certain settings, I mean, there are certain things about different aspects that I recall better than others.
Okay. And does your memory tend to get better, or does it fade over time? That's my question.
It can fade over time, but it depends on the context.
But in this case, you're telling this jury that your memory is better now than it was a year ago when you testified about the exact same circumstance, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You then met about a week after that, which would be 2 weeks ago.
Yes, sir.
Who'd you meet with then?
The same group.
And what did you discuss at that meeting?
Again, just prior testimony, and that was really the gist of it.
And tell me the specifics of the prior testimony that you...
Again, it was the how many times we had talked about saying I hit him. Again, it was 3 times, and then there was also the video that was played for me.
If I'll take the video in just a second. If y'all had met 3 weeks ago and you indicated to Mr. Brennan that it was actually 3 times, not 2 times that you heard the I hit him, why did you need to discuss it again a week later to verify the 3 times versus 2 times?
Not sure, sir. That was just the way that the conversation went. I just...
No, we're doing this as if we're the jury, meaning we didn't research it, nothing. So please don't give any spoilers.
Again, repeated what I said and what I remember from that morning.
Well, tell me about that conversation. Did Mr. Brennan say anything like, well, are you really sure that she said it 3 times?
It was that morning what was said to you, and I said...
He's getting
I
nervous.
hit him. That was how it went that morning, and that was how I remember it.
Okay, and did Mr. Brennan say, well, that's not consistent with how you've testified previously concerning the number of times you heard the I hit him phrase?
Oh, no, you're
Yes,
good.
sir.
He did say that.
He wanted to... He acknowledged that I had said it twice. However, again, as I mentioned, it was said 3 times to me.
So now you do remember last year that you only said that it was repeated twice.
Yes, I am.
One more time, sir.
So now you do recall that last year when you testified, it was inconsistent with how you're testifying today. Let me put it that way, correct?
I believe I said I hit him twice on the stand last year.
Right. And if you're saying I hit him 3 times instead of twice, that firefighter Nuttall is inconsistent with your testimony today, correct? You
Yes,
agree
sir.
with that?
That is how it went that morning, though, sir.
Okay, that's not my question. Let me
That's
see if I can
not
do it
his
again.
question, sir.
So I'm asking you, if you testified last year,
YouTube, Long Crime Court TV. I believe ABC even had it. But after every live, I put everything that we did here onto YouTube. So that way anyone that misses any of it can watch it that way. Same name, Michelle's Criminal Museum. The link's in bio. He does look kind of pale, don't he? He got kind of pale here.
Yes, sir.
but you heard the phrase twice. And now a year goes by, and you're testifying in
Thank
front
you
of
for
this
the
jury
follow.
this year that you heard it 3 times. Those 2 statements are inconsistent with one another, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Babe, did you sneeze?
No.
Oh, okay.
Did you talk at the meeting 2 weeks ago about any other inconsistencies with your testimony?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Well, you were there. You
No.
say not to my knowledge, meaning,
No, sir. We did not.
okay. So it was just about the number of times that you heard the phrase, "I hit him," correct?
Yes, sir.
You cleared that up in the 2 meetings, 3 weeks ago and 2 weeks ago. What did you talk about last night?
Mostly just making sure that everything was as it had been. I mean, and by that I mean it was 3 times, and that we were continuously making sure that everything was the way that it had happened that morning.
Everything was the way that Mr. Brennan wanted it to be.
No, sir. The way that it was in, I remember it and I recall it happening.
Okay. So we asked you 3 weeks ago about how many times you heard that phrase.
Yes, sir.
You changed your testimony at that time and said it was 3 times instead of 2 times. We agree on that, correct?
Yes, sir.
He's not
Then he called you a
consistent.
week later, or met
Right.
with you a week later, and again reiterated, making sure you stick with that testimony that it's 3 times, not 2 times, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then last night he called you just to make sure one more time you're going to stick with that testimony that it was 3 times, not 2 times, correct?
Yes, sir.
Hold on just a second. May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
He just agreed. He said he called you last night to make sure you were going to say 3 times. We have to make a mic drop sticker, and I think we need to make a second hand sticker that says second and then shows a hand so we know it's second hand embarrassment. Because holy shit. Not so confident anymore, and you're looking a bit more pale to me, in my opinion. Listen, dude, you choked. You just tell the truth. Not the truth as you were told to say it. Tell the truth.
You know what that sort of reminds me of? That scene from Legally Blonde.
When the daughter's caught about the washing her hair.
Not that. It's the pool boy. Because he was trying to answer rapid fire questions.
Yes, I know what you're talking about now.
And your boyfriend names is.
Nope, they're gonna. TikTok thinks we're 5.
Anyway.
Yeah, Mary, you were not lying. I don't know why it matters, but he said the last time he testified, he said 2 times. Then he changed it to 3 times, and now he said 3 times again. But Duke called him to make sure he was going to say 3 times, and he said yes. Where's my water? I gave you my water. It's good for Karen.
Okay. And when you talked last night, did you assure Mr. Brennan, nope. When we come in tomorrow, I'm certainly going to say it was 3 times, not 2 times.
No, sir. I told him I would tell my recollection of that morning.
Okay. And did you tell him that what my recollection is? I'm going to tell the jurors it was 3 times that I heard it.
Exactly.
That was what I heard.
Okay. Did you tell him that's what you were going to say today?
No, sir.
You didn't?
I
You
told
just
him
said
I was
that
going to
second-
tell him what I remembered from that morning.
You
Which was
just
what?
said.
I hit him.
Which is how many times?
3 times, sir.
And that's inconsistent with what?
I believe a year ago.
Okay. Now, you also talked about, I want to get back to the other thing that you talked about. You said You
His
said
Adam
that
apple
at
is
some
moving real
point, either
quick.
in the meeting 3 weeks ago, the meeting 2 weeks ago, or the meeting last night, you were shown a video.
Yes, sir.
Which one of those meetings were you shown a video?
I believe the second one.
Okay.
Zuko says the defense attorney has a horrible tone and attitude, not appealing to a jury. You are entitled to your opinion. I personally like this defense attorney. I think he is straight to the point, no bullshit. And I don't normally like defense attorneys. This is a totally different thing for me to be on the side of somebody that's on trial. From where we're at right now, it looks like she was framed. I normally cannot get to this point yet. So the fact that we're at this point and it's just the first witness, no, I can't. I can't.
Were you shown the entire video?
No, sir.
Just the clip that we saw?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What did y'all talk about in relation to that video?
Mostly nailing down who was who in that video.
Okay.
Being the other personnel on scene, where I was, and that was about it.
He showed you the clip that you showed. He showed you the clip that you just seen on direct examination, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you tell him where you were?
Yes, sir.
Did Mr. Brennan ask you to define exactly where it was that you supposedly heard this phrase, "I hit him"?
No, I was able to give that to him, sir.
Okay. And what you
That's
told
good.
him was that moment when you see my client walk over sort of to the left of the screen, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you defined.
Okay, Zuko. Please stand by, everybody. If you want to debate it, we can debate it. I never said that, though. I'm going off the testimony. Why don't I give it to you? No injuries from the cold. He had animal marks on his body. There's no injuries from a car strike, no hypothermia. He died somewhere warm. The snowplow dryer did not see his body when he drove by at 2:30 in the morning. A Ford Edge vehicle was moved to where the body was found. That vehicle was owned by the Albert family. No evidence of a collision. Why did Higgins go to the police station after 2 in the morning to make a phone call to Albert? That phone call, we don't know what it said, but why did he have to go there to make it? And after that, why did both of them deny it and then get rid of their phones? Oh, we're not done. Hold on. Albert was the one whose house that was. You know when we talking about the dog marks? Those dog marks, suddenly, they didn't have that dog anymore. So, that dog was gotten rid of. Not only that, but after all this, he put his house up for sale, too. Got rid of his cell phones. I'll get there, Zuko. I'll get there. Give me a minute. Let me present my findings so far. And this is notes from what they're saying. So, they got rid of their phones. They got rid of the dog. They got rid of the house. Then, during that 2 o'clock call, right after that call ends, there's a Google search done at 2:27. 5 minutes after the end of that call between Higgins and Albert. And the Google search says, how long to die in the cold? Actually, it was HOS because they mistyped. Zuko, honey, hold on. We can debate 100%, but let me get out my side first, which is their side, which is what I've heard so far. You can argue me, but let me at least finish all my sentences here, please. We respect each other here. Google search, how long to die in the cold? And then they deleted that search. 5 a.m., Karen Reed realized John didn't come home. As she was backing out to go find him, she hit a car, and it did have damage to the taillight. She found John at 6 a.m. That vehicle was already in the state troopers. Oh, you got a bad memory like me? Okay, I understand that. Okay, so the EMT is close friends with Caitlin Albert, Brian Albert's daughter, homeowner. The state trooper is close to the Albert family. The first time that anybody walked around John's body, there was nothing found. The second time, when the state trooper, the Albert family friend, walked around that body, there's suddenly taillights. The same taillights that people are saying did that to his body. Look, we must have a very different opinion on what a blizzard is. They ran those pieces to see if his DNA was on it. Guess what? It wasn't. So if it was from the rear light, there's no DNA in there. Nothing. There was 5 unidentified male DNA on John's shoe. 5. They weren't in the system. The medical examiner will not rule this as a homicide. He was found on his back in the snow. His fingers were white and stiff. Timothy Nuttall said that she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. We saw the video where he said that happened. We heard her screaming and crying. We didn't hear her speak those words. We just found out that Timothy Nuttall, at the last time he testified on this case, had said that he heard her say it twice. So he is not a reliable witness, in my opinion. There was also a bump right over his right eye, matted hair in the back of his head. We just got done watching the dash cam, Zuko.
7 things.
We just got done watching it. I live in Illinois. I lived in Maine. That was not a blizzard. It might have developed into a blizzard later, but where his... Thank you, Cindy. But where his body was found, when it was found, that was not a blizzard. It might have turned into one later. That was not a blizzard. Your turn. Go ahead. See, we could do this, you guys, but the important thing is we stay respectful. That's all that I ask in my chats. Sure, come on up. Wait, are you over 18? Hi in Dublin. I'm looking for you. I don't see you. Do you have it turned on to where you can get invites because you're not showing up as an option here? I'm seeing everybody else in the live, but I don't see you. I don't see you. Yeah, you'll have to request me. It's the guest button down at the bottom left side. It's where it says there's two little people, one's pink. There you go. Hi, Zuko.
Oh, it worked.
It did work. What do you got for me?
So basically, I mean, just first of all, like just from looking at the dash cam footage, the conditions were not ideal. There clearly was snow covering the road. It was wet. There was something coming from the sky. It was like visibility was not great, like what was described by the witnesses. So, I know that from living in a place where we get blizzards that if snow like a branch or any sort of debris can be hidden from snow, and then an hour later if it's windy or conditions pick up, they may be revealed. Same thing if like the next day snow melts and then things start to become revealed.
Let me interrupt you because I get bad fiber fog. I forget things quick too. So if more time passes by, wouldn't that mean more time for snow to pile up in the front yard where he was found?
It depends because like it just depends on the wind. It depends on the temperatures, like whether snow continued to pile up, or if the snow got blown around, or if
was
the snow
windy.
melted. Like, I just think there are possible explanations for why in those conditions, maybe at one point something wasn't seen, and then at another point something was seen.
I just think it'd be harder to see him the second time going around because you would think there'd be more snow in the yard.
Yeah, depending, like, I'm just not, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to say that would be the reason that I would find somebody not guilty. I don't think that makes.
Oh, no,
her
that's not
innocent
my reason
because-
either.
Yeah. No, I'm
I
just.
got a list.
Yeah, no. The other part is just like based off of just like, at first my gut reaction is like, it would be really extremely difficult for me to wrap my head around an entire house full of people that somehow knew that this was going on and nothing has been like leaked or shared about. Not one person in that house did the right thing. Like, every single person in that house had malintent for this guy and wanted him to die and covered it up. Like, I think it's way more believable that they didn't have their relationship was extremely rocky. They had been arguing all day leading into this, which was shown in text messages today at the testimony.
Don't
They were
tell us that.
frustrated.
We're doing this as if we're the jury. Don't give us spoilers.
Okay, sorry. So I don't know. I feel like it would be more believable just right off the top, like, for her to run him. By the way, I don't think she purposely did this. I do believe that it was an accident. Like, I think more likely to get like the manslaughter charge than the second degree murder. Cause I don't think she intentionally, like, I've done what she did before in the car, like where because her car went into neutral first and then and then she put it in reverse. I think she went to go drive off. She accidentally hit it with her arm or something, which I have done before, and put it into neutral. And she said, "Oh crap, the car's in neutral." And then instead of putting it in drive, put it in reverse and accidentally reversed into him. Like, I have made that mistake before. I just find that to be way more then maybe she didn't know. Like, honestly, it was snowy.
You gotta remember this, though. You gotta remember this. They had their car parked right where his body was before this.
Yeah,
Is it only that more possible that it was
right. They were in there arguing for some time, and then somebody, I guess, had texted him and said, like, "Do you want to come in the house?" Also, the text message that how to die in the cold or whatever. So
that was an internet search.
Yeah, well, so the attorney that was around in the first trial, that was doing like media coverage of it, was on the live coverage that I'm watching through Law and Crime yesterday. Mm-hmm. And he actually explained that the internet browser was opened at 2 a.m., but that specific search was not made until 6 o'clock the next morning.
The search was made at 2:27 a.m. 5 minutes after the phone call.
They're actually saying that further evidence into the phone cache or whatever shows that the browser that was used to make the search was opened at 2:15 or 2:13 in the morning. But that specific search of how long to die in the cold was not actually searched and typed in until 6 o'clock the next morning.
That's when she went back in to delete it. According to what we're hearing so far.
Yeah, they actually didn't even get to that part in this trial. That's information from the last trial. So that
don't tell me. Don't tell me. I'm a juror.
No. Yeah, I'm just like, that didn't come up yet. So all that information is kind of like irrelevant right now. It's just kind of speculation based off of the information we had in the past. But yeah, like, so far, based off of the information we had in the past. But yeah, like, so far.
In our lives, we're respectful to each other. I'm not going to have anybody going at somebody for their opinion, no matter what it is. If you can't be respectful, I'm going to ask you to leave or I'll help you out. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's no hate at all. I'm just like saying my opinion.
Oh, no, I know.
Yeah.
I've never been on a trial that I actually completely disagreed with. And this was only opening statements and this first witness. So keep in mind, you guys, it is the prosecution's burden to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And we just have to wait and see. So far, if everything that the defense lawyer says is true, and everything they're not saying, they have to show us. They have to show us. And we're still on the first witness. Keep that in mind, guys. We're viewing this as if we're the jury. But it is, yes, it is pointing towards something else happening to me.
So I give my opinion on the snow.
Sure,
aspect.
go ahead.
I grew up in the state of Maine, where it's the Northeast, and there's a standing joke. If you can drive 75 miles an hour down the highway during a blizzard, you're from Maine. There are other aspects to what they consider a blizzard. There might be minimal snowfall, but it's so windy that they're saying it's a blizzard.
And that was windy. That video, it was very
So if
windy.
it's windy with minimal snowfall, that would be more suspected of being able to see anything. It also depends on the area in which the house is. If there are plenty of houses around, it would slow down that wind as well and cause the snow to drift in different directions.
Well, so far, we only have the video that they showed. They still have to prove to us that the defense does, that we're wrong, that everybody's wrong.
Well, you mean the prosecution has to show?
No, the defense is the one that's saying all this stuff.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And so far, the information that they've given, so far leans more towards something else rather than her backing up into somebody.
That's my question too. How did he get to that spot on the lawn? And how did he not have any injuries from being in the cold? That makes zero sense to me too. And now we have this guy that was a paramedic and he's changed his testimony.
Well, so that's another thing that I'm like, I don't really think it's fair to say he changed his testimony because what he's saying is the same.
He
It's
said
just
it himself that he changed his testimony.
but it's semantics. It's like how many times he said the same thing. His story from the beginning was that she said, I hit him. And now it was from 2 to 3 times. So it's not like he changed from she said I hit him to she said I didn't hit him. Like,
Yeah, he said originally he testified that it was twice and now he's decided 3 times.
yeah, which to me is like, he also has testified twice now. It would be extremely difficult to like repeat verbatim what you said 3 years ago versus today. Like, I didn't really think that was like fair that they were like, oh, now this guy needs to go brought up on perjury. Like, he was very clearly trying to be truthful in what he was reciting. Like, I didn't get the impression from him that he was intentionally trying to confuse or like change his statement or like, just whether he said it, whether he believes she said it 2 or 3 times, really to me doesn't make a difference. Like, if I was a juror, I'd be like, that's irrelevant to me. Like, how many times it was said. The fact is that that's what was said.
For me, it was how he acted when he was questioned about saying that in the past. He got hella nervous. He got pale. He started stuttering like crazy.
I think because he was basically he felt it was accusatory. Like, that's what I was saying before with the tone of the defense attorney. I feel like he's extremely like condescending and like the way that he was speaking to the guy, he was like basically making him look stupid. So I think that was his reaction. Like, that was my perception of it. Like, I was like, wow, this guy's being such a jerk. He was trying to save a life. This EMT guy, he showed up like to a horrible situation. He's already testified to the same case 3 years ago and probably countless other times he was called in for questioning. And now here he is again. I mean, I would think it would be something difficult to do.
I get that too. I totally get all that too. The thing, it just, with everything else, the way he acted to me is very sus.
I will say that, like, just from, like, when I first heard all the stuff from the previous trial, I was like, wow, that is weird. But now as I'm going through this time around with this trial, I am like, yeah, like the pictures I saw of the supposed dog attack on his arm, that is not from a German Shepherd. There is no puncture, like wounds from teeth. It was like scratches all over his arm. Like maybe.
But on the flip side, though, his DNA was not found on those fragments from the car.
So
If they're saying that's what it was, why didn't they find his blood on it?
So they actually said that they did find his hair in the taillight. They found pieces of his hair in the taillight.
You didn't tell us that.
Oh, that was, yeah, that also, again, is not from this trial. That's from the previous trial. Like, that's just information I found previously. It didn't get to it. We're not that far into this one. I know.
But do you see why I'm like, okay, this is very suspicious?
No, yeah, like when I first saw all this stuff originally, I was like, oh, that's weird. Like, especially the thing that got me was the text message. But then now I come to find out that actually it was a browser that was just opened, and she had used the same browser that she used at 2 a.m. at 6 a.m. to actually type in the search. And because supposedly that Karen Reed asked her to type to text that, which would also fall in line with what the paramedic was saying, which is what happened also. So like two stories were kind of corroborated there. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting. I just feel like, especially now after this new, like this year, the O.J. Simpson documentary came out, and it kind of really, I mean, there's been several documentaries, but this year there was a new one, and it really highlighted like how the public opinion basically shifted the entire case. And this jury is not sequestered. So I am not like, I don't
Lord Dable either.
Yeah, like I don't know one way or the other. I would just hate for everybody to, like the public, to make the decision before the jury is able to. Like, it's like let it play out. The evidence will speak for itself. I feel like everybody is like, the cops are dirty. They set it up. Like,
oh no, I don't do that. What I go off of is everything that we're hearing as is presented, and as if the defense can prove all of this, then I'm inclined to believe them. And that's not going to happen in opening statements. We're still only on day one, and we support law enforcement. I have the whole mindset that not every cop is a bad cop. There's just sometimes bad people that happen to be cops. So that's not how we do things here.
Right.
I don't know who that is. Again, guys, please keep in mind, we're doing this as the jury. We're doing a different kind of experience here. So we don't have the outside information that some of y'all might be coming and talking about. Thank you so much for coming up, Zuko. I appreciate you doing so. And see, guys, that's how that works. You guys can have different opinions and still be respectful. That's how it goes.
Yeah, all good.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, are we ready to continue?
That's the point at which she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Yes, sir.
And that's in response to your question. I want to make sure I'm clear about this. You asked, do you know him?
Yes, sir.
And she repeated the phrase 3 times, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Correct.
Okay. We'll talk more about that in just a second.
And I did mute someone. We don't talk about other creators in here. No matter what reason you put it in here for, I needed that out of my chat. If you can't type, the next time you come in after 24 hours, it will be gone. We just don't bring up other creators.
Did Mr. Brennan ask anything else about that specific video?
No, like I said, he kind of asked me to point out different individuals on the scene, and that was really the extent of it.
You saw that same video last year when you testified, correct?
No, sir.
You didn't see it last year?
Not to my knowledge, no.
In preparation for your testimony last year?
I did not.
Did you see it before your grand jury testimony?
No, sir.
Okay, so this is the first time that you've seen it.
Yes, sir.
And you were able to establish for Mr. Brennan exactly when it was that you believe you heard the statement based on your view about 2 weeks ago of that video.
No, that was the way that I remember it.
Right, that was not a trick question. My question is much more simple. You were able to establish after 3.5 years
Depends.
now, exactly where you were and where Miss Reed was and who else was around at the time that you believe you heard those three statements in order. I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Don't worry, Renee. I'll be putting this one on my YouTube after I'm done too. Yeah, guys, please disregard that whole discussion. But I'll be putting all this on YouTube so you guys can hear all the highlighted points and all that. The whole thing will be put on YouTube when we're done.
You testified last year as well that there is a normal protocol for removing clothing from a patient, and it's essential to just discard it and get it away from the patient so that you can concentrate on the life-saving measures that you're undertaking, correct?
Yes,
That could be done you said in the ambulance, it could be done in the hospital, it could be done in situ, out there in the field, correct?
Yes, sir.
But the point is you want to get as much clothing off of the person as possible so that you can assess that person's physiology.
Yes, sir.
There's not really a lot of care taken to preserve the clothing from an evidentiary standpoint, in your view, correct?
And we're trained to try and, just to take example of a shooting, try not to cut through the entrance wound of the clothing.
Fair enough. I mean, when you're literally trying to save someone's life, your job is to get the clothing off and get it out of the way.
Yes, sir.
You're not sticking it in an evidence bag and sealing the evidence bag, things of that nature.
No, sir.
So it might end up on the ground.
Yes.
Might end up with some debris on it.
Yep.
Might end up on the floor of the ambulance.
Yes, sir.
Could end up in the floor of the hospital. Or on the floor of the hospital, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if it's tossed in the floor of the ambulance, the clothing may well pick up debris from the ambulance.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
Or the debris from the floor of the hospital or wherever. Is that yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You testified previously at the grand jury in April of 2022, correct?
Yes, sir. I believe so, sir.
Okay, so this happened in January of 2022, that same year in the springtime. You testified at the grand jury, April 20th, I think it was.
Yes, sir.
Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay, I want to take you back to that testimony for a second. You testified at that hearing that Mr. O'Keefe was, quote, dressed appropriately for the weather. You remember that?
Yes, sir.
All right. It was obviously well below freezing at that time.
Yes.
That night that you responded.
It was.
We just seen the video. It looks cold as hell. Right?
It was chill.
All right. The wind was howling.
Yep.
It was snowing. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you testified that John O'Keefe, quote, had a heavy coat on and possibly 2 other layers of clothing.
Yes, sir.
In April 2024, you reiterated your very specific memory of and you even called it a puffy heavy coat that he was wearing, which was then removed so that you could assess his injuries, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Not to get too colloquial, but a puffy coat is like it's got down and stuff in it, right?
Correct.
Looks kind of like Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Pretty distinctive article of clothing.
Yep.
And you testified last year that
Those coats do not help people that don't have necks. As you can tell, I don't have one.
Mr. O'Keefe was wearing that clothing, which you had to remove, or somebody had to remove, in order for him to be properly assessed.
I did testify that way, yes, sir.
Okay. And you mentioned that your memory of that big heavy winter coat was as clear as your memory of other specifics in this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
I asked you that exact question, didn't I?
You did.
And I said, your memory of him having that big puffy coat on, which stood out in your mind, was just as clear as the other specifics that you've testified to about the case.
Yes, sir.
About that night. And turns out you were completely wrong about his clothing, correct?
Correct.
Matter of fact, he wasn't wearing a coat at all.
No, sir.
He wasn't wearing a winter coat, correct?
Nope.
He wasn't wearing a heavy winter coat, correct?
Correct.
And he wasn't wearing a puffy, heavy winter coat.
He was not.
Yet you testified that he was wearing all of that, and that was clear in your mind at the time.
Yes, sir.
Did Mr. Brennan bring that up during the meeting 3 weeks ago?
He asked about what I had meant when I said appropriately dressed.
So you did talk about something other than just, I hit him, correct?
Yes, sir.
When I asked what y'all talked about, why didn't you tell us that?
To be perfectly honest, sir, I did not remember until right now.
So your memory is fading even after 3 weeks.
Yes, sir.
Got it. The fact is, well, let me ask you a different question. Did Mr. Brennan tell you what Mr. O'Keefe was actually wearing?
No, sir. Actually, I believe you did.
Last year, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
It's a short sleeve t-shirt and a little thin wool hoodie, right?
Yes, sir.
Wasn't wearing a hat.
No, sir.
Wasn't wearing, as a matter of fact, didn't even have a shoe on, correct?
Not to my knowledge.
And obviously, goes without saying, but I'm going to ask it anyway, that's not being appropriately dressed for the winter.
No, sir. No, sir.
Yeah. You indicated that you did notice certain injuries on Mr. O'Keefe's person.
Sir.
Once you got him back in the ambulance, obviously it's lighter, meaning brighter lights. You have more equipment in the back of the ambulance. You can better assess somebody's well-being, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you indicated you had a, quote, much better picture of what we were dealing with, correct?
Yes.
You noticed once in the back of the ambulance that he had trauma to the right side of his head.
Correct.
And as a matter of fact, when you were pointing at it, I'm doing that on purpose because you pointed to the right side of your sort of forehead above your right eyebrow, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The majority or the worst injury that Mr. O'Keefe suffered was actually to the back of his head, which you indicated, you noted was quite matted with blood, correct?
Yes, sir.
I want to talk about the injury to the right side of his head as distinct from the back of the head injury for just a second. Before I get to that in detail, let me ask you, because I just sort of want to cover the bases. You noted the back of the head injury, correct? Is that yes?
Yes, sir.
You also noted the front right side of the head above the right eye, correct?
We did.
You noted some injury to his eyes. They looked blackened.
Yes, sir.
But primarily the right eye was blackened.
Yep.
And there was a golf ball size egg, I think you put it, over his right eye. Often called a hematoma.
Correct.
And you also noted when you got his shirt off that he had scratches along the right side of his arm. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You indicated on direct examination today that you believe those scratches ended where? Meaning from top to bottom? And I'm not using anatomically correct language. So from shoulder to wrist, where were the scratches that you noted?
There were several. As I noted, they were on his right humerus area.
Tell me what a humerus is.
The right arm.
Biceps.
Right about here. No, a little further, like where your bicep and your tricep kind of meet. Right about in there.
Okay. And what did the scratches look like?
They were deep, infamously referred to them as furrows, but they were quite deep. You can tell that there had been some material removed.
Okay. Material meaning skin and flesh.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Some biological material.
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes, sir.
Trigger warning.
And were they parallel? Meaning they were going in the same direction?
Yes.
Were there any scratches below the elbow?
There were. Yes, there were. They were not as significant as the ones in the upper arm, but they were noted.
Okay. And those were parallel as well?
Yes, sir.
And they looked like scratches to you. That's how you described them.
They did.
Last year,
I give him credit for admitting that he misremembered something. Not everybody will do that.
when you described those scratches, you curled your fingers up, exposing sort of the nails, and drew it across your biceps. Is that what you were using to describe what the sort of scratches looked like?
I just kind of used that as a landmark, to be honest with you, sir. It was just kind of how I quantified it in my mind.
Okay. But what you did was you did this motion.
Yes, sir.
As you said, there were furrows. And remember, there was an embarrassing moment for me.
Both of us, sir.
I couldn't understand the word furrow because of the accent, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about the hematoma above the right eye for a second. That's basically damage to subdural blood vessels that causes acute swelling, right?
Correct.
And a very common cause of a hematoma over one's eye could be being hit or punched in the face. We talked about that.
There could be several causes for hematoma, such as that.
Obviously. I mean, it could be a golf club, a baseball bat, or it could be a fist.
It could be.
Okay. We talked about that last year. I asked you if the injuries that you saw on Mr. O'Keefe's face, including the laceration over his right eye, was consistent or inconsistent with a physical altercation, and you said it was consistent with a physical altercation as well.
To the
Excuse me?
Objection.
objection referring to past testimony before a question is asked.
So sustained.
Sure. Do you remember a laceration, in addition to the hematoma, about a 0.8 centimeter laceration over his right eye?
I do.
Tell me I'm using a word that maybe not everybody understands. I didn't understand it when we first started this thing. What's a laceration? What's the difference between that and a cut?
A laceration is they're basically the same thing. Laceration is just a deep cut.
Okay. So it's a parting of the skin.
Correct.
In other words, where the skin separates.
Yes.
And that can be from blunt force trauma, meaning something hits it rather than cuts it.
You can get
Sustained.
Thank you for the follow.
What are some of the causes of lacerations?
You can get a laceration, as you noted, blunt force, but you can also get a laceration from a slashing movement, from a stabbing. I mean, that is still a laceration.
What about a hematoma?
That is primarily caused by blunt force trauma.
Right. And the hematoma and the laceration were right next to each other, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you indicated last year, or let me ask you this way. Is that consistent or inconsistent with a physical altercation?
Objection.
Can you answer that?
Thank you,
I could
Tina.
not say. You're on.
Okay, next question.
Well, last year, you indicate you can't answer that. Last year, you did answer it, didn't you?
Objection.
So I need to see counsel at sidebar for just a minute, please.
Sidebar. I'm thinking we need to make a couple more stickers. I just, at this point, don't know exactly which stickers we need to make because I have never, all right, to be completely honest, when we do trials, and I'm admitting that I do this, I go in with like a preconceived notion of they're arrested for something, so he's probably guilty. And then I wait for it to be proven. But in my head, I'm thinking they're guilty. This case, I never watched the first trial, and I thought she was guilty, never watched anything, never even looked into it. Just made that judgment. I'm not proud of it, but I do it. However, that's why we're here now. And I could honestly say if everything that they wrote in the opening statements, if they could prove all of that, I am honestly feeling like this woman was set up. I hear a noise like there's a fax machine, but I don't have one. Oh, it's probably the noise for when they're sidebar. Like, I don't like that I think in my head they're probably guilty, but I do it. I can't change that. And guys, don't forget, after this live's over, I will be putting it on the YouTube under the same name, Michelle's Criminal Musings. So we could, if you missed any part of it, you can go review it there. You're not the only one that thinks that, B. And to be completely honest, I do lean towards believing law enforcement. My father was a cop. My husband was in the Army. He wanted to be a cop. I begged him not to be. Who are you? But when we sat down to start this today, in my mind, at some point, I had already decided
Mr.
she was
Nettle, I'm
guilty.
going to let you take a break and get back to this after the lunch break. So this is
Sounds good.
the luncheon break. There's lunch here for you. I assume Tony is it here? Okay.
All right, they're on break. We don't need to hear the in-betweens because we're the jury. We don't do that when we're the jury. Here we go.
The EMTs that were with you that responded to the scene, you mentioned, I think you said Tony Anthony Flamati, correct?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned Kelly, and I want to say Matthew.
Matt Kelly.
Matt Kelly?
Yep.
Yourself?
Correct.
And of the three of you, two of the three of you were and are paramedics, our firefighter Flamati and yourself, correct?
Correct.
Do you know the name
two
Katie
yourself.
McLaughlin?
I do.
Who is Katie McLaughlin?
She is a firefighter paramedic for the town of Canton.
Was she also on the call?
She was.
You didn't mention her this morning.
It did not come up. She responded on the initial dispatch on engine 3.
You were asked who responded with you, correct?
Yes, sir.
By Mr. Brennan.
Yes, sir.
And you mentioned yourself. You mentioned Tony Flamati. You mentioned Matt Kelly.
Yes, myself, firefighter Flamati, and firefighter Kelly responded in ambulance 1 together.
Okay. And how did firefighter McLaughlin respond?
So she was assigned to engine 3 that night. She was with Lieutenant Woodbury and firefighter paramedic Frank Walsh.
She also, in addition to Walsh being, it's Frank Walsh?
Yes, sir.
In addition to firefighter Walsh being a paramedic, Katie McLaughlin was also a paramedic.
Correct.
So she responded to the scene at the same time as you, generally, but in a different ambulance.
In a fire truck, in a piece of fire apparatus. She was in engine 3.
Got it. Engine 3, okay. And she was with you, generally, when I say with you, at the scene during the entire time that you're describing the events that you described with Mr. Brennan on direct examination.
For the most part.
Okay. She then left in a particular ambulance, correct?
Yes, she ended up driving ambulance 1 to Good Samaritan.
And ambulance 1 was which ambulance?
Ambulance 1 was the initial ambulance that myself, firefighter Kelly, and firefighter Flamati responded in.
So right after the scene you described, as you're leaving the scene, firefighter McLaughlin is in the ambulance with you and firefighter Flamati, correct?
She is driving. So the 3 of us are in the back in the patient compartment. She is up front in the driver's seat.
Once at the hospital, did firefighter McLaughlin go into the hospital with the other firefighters?
I believe so, yes.
So she was with you in the engine, she was, although in the driving cab, she was with you, ambulance in the driving cab. She was also with you right after the scene at the hospital, correct?
Yes, sir.
And she was also with you later after you cleared the hospital and went back to the station.
Yes, sir.
You had discussions with firefighter Flamati about the incident. That would be normal protocol.
Correct.
Almost like a debrief.
How dare
Sure.
they?
You had the same types of discussions with firefighter Kelly, Matt Kelly.
Yes, sir.
I'm guessing that you probably had the same sorts of discussions with firefighter Walsh.
I actually don't know if I saw firefighter Walsh when we got back. The weather was right at shift change, and the weather getting back was also getting worse, so I honestly couldn't speak to that.
Catnip, don't worry. It comes with the powdery stuff and the activator separate. It doesn't actually work until you combine them. So you should still be good.
And you also had conversations with firefighter McLaughlin after you cleared the hospital and got back to the station as well.
She was part of the debrief, yes, sir.
Okay. And all of you discussed what you did, saw, and heard, generally speaking, while at the scene, correct?
Those are more in terms of getting equipment wrangled, really kind of how they go. What did we use? What do we need? What are we going to have to restock when we get back?
Right. But there also was obviously discussions about what had just happened. I mean, you were dealing with a dead or dying police officer on a lawn, on a snow-covered lawn in a cold environment.
I honestly couldn't speak to that, sir. I honestly don't remember.
It's because you don't remember, correct?
Well, like I said, it's mostly, those debriefs are usually, they're very...
Please stand by for technical difficulties.
Equipment, make sure that the
Never
ambulance
mind.
is ready for the next call, etc. I'm asking about a general debrief with the fellow firefighters, male and female, that you were with at that scene. You're telling me that you don't remember debriefing and discussing the incident and your observations at the incident following that incident.
No, sir.
Okay, but your memory, you indicated earlier, gets better with time, right?
Yes, sir.
You don't remember it as you sit here today?
Ask the question again.
Sure. do you remember discussing with firefighter Flamati, firefighter Walsh, firefighter Kelly, firefighter McLaughlin, any of them, your observations and what happened while at the scene after you cleared the hospital and got back to the station?
No, sir.
Have no memory of that whatsoever.
No, sir.
When we left off before lunch, I was asking you about a hematoma and a laceration over the right eye of Mr. O'Keefe. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
I asked you, is being punched in the face, can that lead to a small laceration like you saw and a hematoma like you saw?
Objection.
I'm going to allow it.
You answer that question.
I couldn't speak to how that injury occurred.
Is it consistent? Are those injuries, just those injuries, are those consistent with being punched in the face?
Those injuries could be sustained from numerous ways.
And
There's one piece of evidence I forgot to say, and I might need your guys' help. Who was named John on the police force there? Because Karen was getting messages from John. That's what we heard in the opening. Just keep that in your mind.
Yes, it could be from that. It could be from others as well.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking you. It could be. In other words, it's consistent
Yes, sir.
with being punched in the face, correct? Correct. Thank you. I want to ask you about this statement that you indicate that you heard that now is 3 statements, 3 phrases, correct?
Yes, sir.
When you heard this statement, describe for me exactly where you were. What were you doing and who was around you?
I was knelt at the head of John O'Keefe with a bag valve mask, delivering ventilations. Firefighter Kelly was to the right, and Firefighter Flamati was on the left side of Mr. O'Keefe, and the 3 of us together were working to perform CPR and ventilations.
And
Thank you
your
for the
job,
follow.
and I hate to butcher it, but
No.
you'll correct me.
Yes, sir.
Your job was to do the airway, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'm picturing a big balloon-like apparatus that you put over the patient's mouth.
Exactly.
Squeeze it.
Yes.
That's as opposed to, it's an advancement on just mouth-to-mouth
Thank you for the
resuscitation, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
You were the airway person doing the squeezing of the bag.
Correct.
What was Tony Flamati, firefighter Flamati, doing?
He was starting CPR, in which that point was taken over by Firefighter Kelly.
Okay, so firefighter Flamati, when you say starting CPR, describe what that means. What is the physical act of CPR?
So you put both hands together like this, one on top of the other. You put it right on top of the sternum, and you begin doing chest compressions 2 inches deep, allowing full recoil for 100 to 120 beats per minute, compressions a minute to sustain a cardiac rhythm. You're manually making the heart beat with each compression.
Which means that is a rhythmic pumping motion, correct?
Yes, sir.
So if you see someone doing CPR, you're probably going to see their shoulders moving up and down and moving rhythmically, correct?
IMO is in my opinion. I just ask people to say that because people come here for some factual stuff, so when we're not being factual, we just put IMO at the end of it.
Do you remember what firefighter Flamati was wearing? You had just come off of actually you were just coming onto a shift, so you didn't have all your foul weather gear officially, correct?
I had my puppy jacket. I had my Canton Fire jacket.
Got it. Firefighter Flamati, on the other hand, had a bright yellow jacket.
Correct.
Sort of reflective and a safety jacket.
Yes, sir.
And he was kneeling to your left at the time doing, have I got that right?
Yep, you got that right.
Okay, he's kneeling to your left at the time doing chest compressions. That's when you indicate that Miss Reed walked over and made the statement.
Correct.
And Kelly was there as well?
Yes, sir.
Kneeling right beside all 3 of you as Firefighter Flamati was giving the chest compressions, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You indicated that the statement was in response to a question that you asked of my client. Do you know him?
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Correct.
And she responded to you with the phrase that you've used. I hit him.
I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Right. So it's absolutely clear in your mind when that statement was made. You were knelt down over Mr. O'Keefe. Firefighter Flamati was doing the CPR, and Kelly was with the both of you when you posed that question.
Yes, sir.
It's a very detailed memory.
Yes, sir.
You indicated Mr. Brennan. That sticks out in your mind. Is that right?
It does.
But that's not at all what you told Trooper Proctor on February 8th, just 10 days after this incident, is it?
I don't recall what I told Trooper Proctor.
I thought your memory got better with time.
I don't recall that meeting. I recall meeting with him, but I don't recall the extent of what was discussed.
You literally don't
This guy's good.
in that meeting in that formal interview with the lead detective on this case.
We discussed the case, but I don't, in his words, I'm not sure what he put down.
What you said to Trooper Proctor on February 8th, 10 days after this, was you overheard Miss Reed say, I hit him one time to another female that she was talking to. Correct?
Objection.
No, I'll allow it. Did you say that?
I have no memory of this, Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
Did you say that her statement was an answer to a question posed by the female or a discussion with the female?
Break that down for me, sir.
Sure. Did you tell Trooper Proctor on February 8th that what you heard was Karen Reed speaking to a female, not answering a question that you posed?
Kevin, if you can.
Again, I don't recall that specific question.
Did you tell Trooper Proctor on February 8th while you were rendering aid, and at the time you heard the statement, Miss Reed was actually praying over John? Your words, praying over John.
I don't recall ever saying that.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
This is a really strange place for me to be when doing a case, a trial. Like I said, I usually, and I don't like that I do this, but I usually have like a preset motion that whoever's on trial is guilty. And I know it's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, but my mind, and I'm being completely honest, it does have that thought. No, catnip, you can't. We're the jury, remember? Or at least don't tell me you do it. Plausible deniability. Oh, okay. I feel better now. I am too. The body actions and... Hold on.
Did you say that you observed Karen Reed to have blood on her face from providing mouth-to-mouth breaths to Mr. O'Keefe prior to your arrival?
I remember Miss Reed having blood on her face, presumably from attempting CPR.
Do you remember telling Trooper
Presume.
Proctor on February 8th that you saw her with blood on her face from CPR?
I do.
So
And to be abundantly clear, my view on this witness has nothing to do with what he does for a living. It's his testimony. I support first responders.
you remember that portion of your conversation with Trooper Proctor, correct?
Yes, sir.
But the praying over John, praying over the victim, you don't remember.
I don't remember ever saying that.
And ever. And the statement, I hit him to another female, you also don't remember that.
No, sir.
Would it refresh your recollection if you were to look at a report
Yes, sir.
offered by Trooper Proctor? May I?
Yes.
I'm feeling insane guilt right now for knowing that I just looked at this woman and made a mental judgment of her being guilty without knowing anything. I'm feeling really shitty as a human being right now.
May I direct the witness's attention to the second page, Your Honor?
All right, why don't you take a look at that?
Me too.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Proctor was, hold on. Sorry, my notebook broke, so the pages are separate. Hold on. Proctor was the state trooper that led the investigation. We haven't seen a first trial. This is the first trial to us, but yeah.
Sir, did you have an opportunity to glance at the report that you were just shown?
Yes, sir.
Does that refresh your recollection about your conversation with Trooper Proctor that he put in a report?
It does not, sir.
So as you sit here, you have no memory of what you just read in this report from Trooper Proctor, the lead investigator on the case?
I have no recollection of ever saying that anybody prayed over anybody ever in this case.
You did see it in his report, though.
Right.
Sustained.
You've admitted under oath that your memory of the events at that time, from that time frame, January, February 2022, is faulty, correct?
True.
No, sir.
In your April 2024, it's April 30th, 2024 testimony from last year. You were asked whether or not your memory was a little faulty,
That's true.
and your answer was absolutely, correct?
Could I have a page and number,
Where is
please?
that, Mr. Jackson?
Volume 8, page 151, lines 14 through 16.
What is the purpose of your face?
Can you give me the lines again?
Lines 14 through 16. I'll just allow counsel to get that up.
Why would he make those facial expressions when he's saying what page it's on?
If we could pose the entire question and give content to it, please.
Very expressive. I agree.
May I?
Yeah, so do you intend to show the whole question?
The whole question that I asked and his answer, yes.
All right, now I'll give you the opportunity. I'll redirect this if it's not. Go ahead.
Is it true that in answer to the
Thank you,
question,
Lori.
quote, so it's fair to say your memory is a little bit faulty as it pertains to that time frame, your answer was absolutely. Correct?
From last year?
I'll be rewatching it later.
What you testified to last year about conversations that you had with Trooper Proctor around February 8th of 2022.
Yes, sir.
And you would agree, as you sit here, that your memory is still faulty about your conversation with him. Correct?
Trooper Proctor? Yes, sir.
So you're not saying you didn't say that the statement was made to a woman, correct?
Objection.
Are you saying that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, next question.
Thank you. And you're also not saying that you didn't say to Trooper Proctor that you saw Karen Reed praying over John O'Keefe.
Objection.
So I'd like you to ask that differently. Did you say that?
I have no recollection of saying that ever.
Next question.
Why are you
My point
telling
is,
her on
You
her?
have no recollection of it. You're not denying saying it.
Objection.
Are you denying saying it?
Yes.
Okay.
So you do have a recollection that you never said it. Do you understand the difference?
Oh, sir, I don't believe I've ever said praying. That's really not something that I would have said. I didn't see it that day. It didn't happen. I don't remember ever saying prayed
You didn't
in
see
regards
it
to this case ever.
You didn't see it that day, and it never happened. That was your words just now, correct?
Break that down for me.
You didn't see it that day, and it never happened. That's what you're saying about the praying statement, correct?
Yes, sir.
And in that same exact statement, you also included the phrase, I hit him, correct?
No, sir.
In the statement that you made to Trooper Proctor,
The report that Trooper Proctor wrote?
correct?
Again, I don't remember ever saying the words praying over him. I do distinctly remember I hit him.
Which doesn't appear in that report, does it?
Objection.
I'm going to sustain that, Mr. Jackson. You directed him only to page 2.
Understood, Your Honor.
He's very good. Yeah, I agree.
I'd like to show you a short portion of a video, the same video that you were asked to look at on direct examination. And Your Honor, I pray to the court, I can certainly mark it as a defense exhibit or for
So is this going
identification.
to be an exhibit by agreement?
It is.
Okay,
It is.
so we know that, Madam Court Reporter, thank you.
Me too.
Thank you, Your Honor. With
Wait
the
a
court's
second.
permission, may I please?
Julie, you are a juror. We're all jurors right now. Virtually, of course.
A portion of that video for the jurors, publish it.
Okay. Which portion, so people know?
I'm going to start it at about, I want to
Excuse me.
say 6:55. Mr. Walken, can you cue that up?
Hiccups again.
Before you play it, can we have it on that screen as well, or is it only playing to this screen?
That's right, social
I don't
media
know.
jury. That's right. Better. Thank you.
When Ms. Gilman did it, it was both. Great.
There we go. All right, before we play it, can I ask you a quick question about this? Sure. It appears that this is paused. Do you recognize this as being the same video that you were shown this morning by Mr. Brennan?
I do.
All right, describe the scene.
No, this is not live. This is day one. This is the first witness. Since we're doing this as a jury, I just giving you all a closer look. You could see the pavement on the road. You see a bump up where there's a little bit of snow on that. Now I'm gonna have you keep watching. When it
So,
presses play, tell me if it looks like
34
a
Fairview
blizzard.
Road. The lights in the background, I believe it is either right as we pulled up or right as we're pulling up.
Okay. Same
It's
dash
been
cam
plowed
video.
though.
Yes, sir.
Can we scroll this to the 6:55 runtime spot, please?
My whole thing is in Illinois, when we get blizzards and they gotta plow, there's usually more on the side of the road because they take it off the road and it will be higher. That's my experience. Just my experience, that's all. I'm not a professional meteorologist.
Pause it. Okay. Do you see the individual on the left? Far left.
Yeah, the jacket?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Who's that?
I believe that's firefighter Flamati.
You previously indicated that firefighter Flamati was on his knees providing CPR at the same time you were knelt down providing the airway.
This isn't when it was
That's not
stated.
my question. Is that what you said?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. You indicated earlier when you heard this statement by my client, you were very detailed. Firefighter Flamati was knelt down providing chest compressions at the same time you were knelt down providing airway support for Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
I had also said that at some point,
That's a
firefighter
yes or no
Flamati
question.
had
So I'm going to let the witness answer the question.
had transferred CPR to firefighter Kelly. Firefighter Kelly did take over compressions at one point.
Okay. That's not my question.
Okay.
My question's an easy one. Did you say that when Miss Reed walked over to you and you had this dialogue with her, she made that statement that firefighter Flamati was on his knees providing chest compressions at the same time you were knelt down providing airway support?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Firefighter Flamati, in your testimony, appears to be standing up right there, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let's play the video forward for just a second. Stop it. What did you see firefighter Flamati do just now?
I believe he just knelt down.
Okay. So at this point, he's kneeling for the first time, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he's about to provide chest compressions as your memory serves, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's go ahead and play it forward. Pause.
Karen Mutt that way. She's
Did you
off
see my
screen.
client in that photo? I mean, I'm sorry, in that clip?
Yes, sir, I did.
You didn't see her?
Oh, no, I did see her, yeah. Yeah, I don't see her on right now.
Right. She just walked off frame, correct?
Yes, she
Let's go ahead and
did.
play it forward.
You guys can't even see that side.
Stop it. You see my client walk back into the frame?
Yes, sir.
At this point, you were watching firefighter Flamati. He appears to be now providing CPR, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And my client is nowhere near you, correct? At least for this clip.
No, sir.
Okay.
Correct.
And the clip that I just played before, the few seconds that I played before, nowhere near you, correct? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead and play it forward.
That's Karen Reed right here. She's nowhere near them. Talking to another individual. She's over here. She's nowhere near them. They're all the way over there.
Pause it, please. What do you see happening on the screen from screen right to screen left at this juncture?
We're bringing in the stretcher.
Okay, go ahead and play it. Pause it. Do you see where my client is right now?
She's about to be hugged.
2 seconds. Sorry, I lost view.
With court's permission, I need to ask the court's permission. Thank you. So let's go ahead and play it. Pause.
My finger will
Did you see
follow
my client?
Karen.
Yes, sir.
Where is she in the frame?
Behind that other individual.
Behind the SUV?
I believe she's in front of the SUV and behind the other individual.
Okay. I'm at the SUV, the white SUV that's in
Yes, sir.
the far distance.
Yes.
That's the back of the SUV. She's behind it, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Not near you.
No.
Okay. Let's go ahead and play it.
Bless you. They're all.
Go ahead and pause it. Do you see what firefighter Flamati is? Entire clip.
Chest compressions?
Okay. Let's go ahead and play it.
Over there is where the chest compressions are happening. Karen Reed is right here. Now they're bringing him over, and Karen Reed's moved further over.
What's happening now?
Where Mr. O'Keefe's on the scoop stretcher and he's being transferred to the ambulance stretcher.
So that's the entire time Mr. Flamati, firefighter Flamati, was giving chest compressions. It's captured right here on this video, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And now Mr. O'Keefe is up on the stretcher, and you are no longer knelt down,
No, sir.
and firefighter Flamati is no longer knelt down,
No, sir.
and you're now following the stretcher with, it looks like, 2 or 3 other EMTs, correct?
I am not in that frame, sir.
Okay, so you've walked away.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's go ahead and play it forward. Pause it. You see where my client is?
Yes, sir.
Right here.
Go ahead and play it. Do you see firefighter Flamati or firefighter Kelly continuing to give chest compressions?
Yes, sir.
Which one is that? Do you know?
I believe it's firefighter Flamati.
Flamati?
I believe so.
Okay, so he's still doing all the chest compressions from start to finish?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's happening right now?
Now we are transferring to ambulance 1.
And where's my client?
Right front and center.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
just a second.
Babe, if I ever get arrested for any reason, they all know who I want my attorney to be. Just clarifying that.
With regard
That's right now.
Damn straight. He is very good.
just a couple of more questions with the court's permission. Okay. I'm going to change gears with regard to what you talked about on direct examination, the hypothermic conditions. You're not a medical doctor, correct?
No, sir.
You don't diagnose patients?
No, sir.
You're not diagnosing that John O'Keefe suffered from hypothermia that night?
No, sir.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. We're gonna have to do another poll. Whatever you guys vote, it doesn't matter one way or another. I don't pick on people for what they vote because I don't even know what I'm doing right now. So, if you think that this witness is still credible after this questioning, if you think he is still credible, the smile face. If you think he's no longer credible as a witness, the cry face. Tap whichever one you want. That's not tapping, that's speaking.
I don't care.
Thank you for the follow. And by the way, guys, if you're new here and you followed that side, that's just my backup. It doesn't always come live with me, so make sure you're following this side. And make sure you get me on YouTube as well, Michelle's Criminal Musings. It sure does look unanimous, doesn't it? Now, it's my belief that when you have a position such as this, you should be held to a certain standard. Is he meeting that standard? In my opinion, on his testimony, no. But could it seriously be that he doesn't remember even after saying he severely does remember? I'm questioning. I'm thinking that too. There's 2 lies you got. No, 3 lies, you guys. 3. He said the first time he testified that she said it twice. Then he said that she said it once to the... What's his name again? Hold on. Proctor. I need a new notebook. I'm wondering if there was something nefarious going on too, and I'm not in a habit by any means of being down on first responders or law enforcement, but there's a certain standard that they should be held to when they're supposed to be doing their job to protect us. And if you don't remember something, just say you don't remember it. Don't try to fill it in. The first time around, he had said that he heard her say it twice. Then he said that when he spoke to the person last night, he made sure to tell me he's saying it 3 times. We just saw the video. The point where he said that she was saying that, she was nowhere near them. He's lost all credibility in my book. Let's continue. Redirect. In the first trial, he said 2 times. This time, he said 3.
Firefighter Nuttall, the video the defense just showed you, did you notice any differences between that video and when I showed it to you, and that it doesn't have the time on it?
Yes, those were 2 different time frames on that video.
And when we spoke about when the defendant said to you, I hit him, that wasn't shown to you in that video just now, was it?
No, it was not.
So if we go back, will you be able to explain where you came from and firefighter Flamati came from and when you first went over to John O'Keefe?
Sure.
With the court's permission, Ms. Gilman, if you could start that video. I think
Don't worry,
it's 6:11,
Catnip. I'll
please.
put it up after the live. It'll be on YouTube.
Now stop it there. Do you see that this exhibit has timestamp on the top?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please continue.
(6:10 a.m. 1:20 9/22. I can't see the date.
Could you stop, please? Do you see the red lights on the left?
Babe, can
Yes,
you
sir.
turn the
Is
light
that when you
off?
believe that you first arrived?
Yes, sir.
And that note says 6/11/05. Could you continue?
And I just want to note, in the start of this video, I am seeing a lot of concrete and not as much snow. Thank you. I'll move closer if need be. I'll pull it closer if need be. Just let me know, guys. It's a dark video. We gotta go in the dark.
Can you please, Ms. Gilman? Please watch to the left. Stop, please. Is that when you first arrive and walk over to help John O'Keefe?
Yes, sir. That's me.
I'll note that the timestamp is 6/11/21. Okay, continue, please.
Oh, and the coat too. Yes, thank you. This is Karen.
Stop, please. Did you see firefighter Flamati come after you?
Yes, sir.
Was any of this shown to you during those questions?
No, sir.
No. Continue, please.
No, 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 no. No.
Stop, please. Do you see the defendant in that screen?
Yes, sir.
Do you see her moving from right to left towards you?
Sustained is to the form.
Okay, what direction do you see her running in that screen from right to left?
She's running towards where the three of us are grouped.
Okay, please continue.
She's by them.
Stop.
Now she's not. That's 6:12 and 11 seconds.
Is it at that time the defendant said to you that she hit him?
Yes, sir.
And you remember that?
I do.
Okay. I'm done with the tape. Thank you very much. Now, you were asked questions about your memory.
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you were asked the questions about Trooper Proctor, when you were saying that you didn't remember, were you referring to the conversation with Trooper Proctor, or were you suggesting you didn't remember what happened that morning?
I don't remember the interview with Trooper Proctor. I remember it happened. I don't remember the substance of what was discussed entirely. I remember we discussed that morning, but
Do you know if that conversation was recorded or just a conversation between you and the trooper?
I do not know if it was recorded.
You were asked questions. I want to ask you about questions on Mr. O'Keefe, and you mentioned that there was some type of blood clotting on the back of his head.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You noticed there were abrasions on his right arm.
Yes, sir.
You noticed there was a hematoma on the right side of his head.
Yes, sir.
Did you see any bruising on his right knee?
Don't recall, sir.
Did it stand out to you that all of his injuries, all of them that you saw, other than the cut on the back of the head, that they were all on his right side?
Yes, sir.
Did you notice any hematomas on his left side?
I did not.
Did you notice any scratches or abrasions on his left side?
I did not.
Did you notice any marks that would be consistent with an altercation on the left side of his body?
I did not.
You were asked about the cause, and you said that you don't know the cause. You weren't there, were you?
No, sir.
You asked if it was consistent with being punched, and you said it could be.
Yes, sir.
Could it be consistent with being clipped by a car? Objection.
Sustained is to the form.
You were asked questions about clothing,
Yes, sir.
and you had at one point said you thought that Mr. O'Keefe was wearing a winter jacket. Do you have any memory that when you first got there, or when you first got there, do you have any memory whether there were any towels wrapped around Mr. O'Keefe's head?
I remember there was a white cloth of some sort on the scene.
Okay. And when you were asked about your memory regarding the clothing, was the clothing of what was utmost importance to you at that time?
No, sir.
And why is that?
I was, again, focused on Mr. O'Keefe's airway and ventilation.
Okay. And when you were asked about the clothing, do you remember if you added anything else about your certainty or uncertainty about clothing when you previously gave a statement or testimony?
I believe when I testified last year, I did note I had no part in removing any articles of clothing or anything like that. That was not my job in the back of the truck.
Do you remember any recognition of the fact whether you were certain or not about clothing?
Repeat the question, sir. Sorry.
Is there anything that would refresh your memory about what you had said about clothing?
Ask a different question first.
You had mentioned that you had some difficulty about clothing. Do you remember what you had previously said?
I remember there was some difficulty of getting the individual's fingers through clothing just because they were so cold. They were difficult to manipulate. Just they really was not conducive to getting clothing off easily.
You met with me 3 times.
Yes, sir.
I had not met you before any of your prior testimonies, had I?
No, sir.
Do you remember meeting with me and discussing this case with me?
I do.
Do you remember me asking you to tell me what you remember?
I do.
Do you remember what I told you about testimony when you come into court?
Yes, sir.
What did I tell you?
I remember we discussed that just tell the truth.
Did I tell you that it doesn't matter? There is no side. It doesn't matter if it helps or hurts. That you just tell
You're
the
leading.
truth.
Sustained.
Did I ever suggest to you that you should stick to a story?
No, sir.
Did I ever suggest to you you should offer your testimony in any certain way?
No, sir.
When I talked to you, did I ever ask you to say anything about your testimony to this jury?
No, sir.
Other than what?
Speak to the jury.
Did I need to tell you to tell the truth?
No, sir.
And in telling the truth, did the defendant say to you, I hit him, I hit him?
I'll allow it.
Actually,
3 times.
Actually, sir, you said twice. His memory now stands 3 times. You might want to fix that. You are the prosecutor.
In fact, do you remember, in addition to her saying, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, when you asked her the question, nailing down over John O'Keefe's body, do you remember if you ever talked about other times that she said it, not to you?
I do not.
Okay.
The answer is I do not. Next question.
Okay.
I kind of like this judge. She's very fair. So far.
Do you remember testifying previously in this case?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember at all discussing whether or not, after she left you, whether or not the defendant was still talking and speaking?
I'm sorry, sir. Repeat the question.
Do you remember, after the defendant left you and made that statement to you, do you remember did you hear her speak to other people after you?
I heard her having conversations in the background, but that was not my focus at that time.
You must have really
And
good
during
hearing.
those conversations in the background, did you hear her talk about that same issue again?
I don't know.
I believe she said it several times, but the 3 times she said it to me were what stuck out to me.
Okay. And when she said it to other people, it wasn't directly to you?
No, sir.
Really, so.
So watch the form of the question, Mr.
And
Bowman.
when she said it to
Objection, move to
when she
strike.
said it to other people, do you know who she said it to?
I do not.
I'll allow it. So the answer is I do not.
Ma'am, Your Honor, can we please ask him to give time to answer, not to answer immediately in case there are objections, please?
Do you remember when she said it other times who she said it to?
I'm going to see counsel at sidebar for this.
Do you guys think he's gonna get in trouble for previously saying that he heard her twice and then saying it was 3 times?
I think it may.
I don't think he'll get in trouble.
He won't get in trouble, even though technically it's perjury, because it is a lie. No matter how minimal it is a lie. It's called perjury. And with cases, you have to be absolute in your memory. Wow.
Does anybody know who John is, by the way? Since I know some people have come out and come back in. Does anybody know who John is in relation to this? Lisa, that's my question. I had the same question. I hope he gets to, I cannot remember the word, but I hope he gets to question again the defense lawyer, so that he could play the video again and explain why he showed us one that wasn't time stamped. No, who was it that was calling and texting Karen, but she said she ghosted him? It was said by the prosecution. Now you got me wondering if it was really John that it said. Can somebody remind me to order a new notebook after this live? Because mine broke. So I've got all these pages and I'm sitting here numbering them and it's not convenient. I have a horrible memory. If I ever have to testify for anything based on memory, do not ask for me. It could be. Do not ask for me to testify for anything. My memory sucks. I would not be a good witness for anything.
Colonel Mustard in the library with the rifle. Or no, it was a pistol. Sorry. Okay.
Okay, so that's who it was. It was John McCabe. Okay, hold on. Catnip, we need to look into. Well, no, we can't. So after the trial, we need to look into that and see what he was texting her. I would be saying I don't recall, but then I'd be halfway through, I'd forget what the word recall is. Hot Mess Express. Nothing more, nothing less.
Sir, after the defendant came over to you and spoke and then left, do you remember hearing her make further statements?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember her making further statements similar
I do.
to the statement to you?
Yes, sir.
Could you share with the jury what you remember her saying, not to you, but after she left you?
I remember hearing I hit him several other times. Again, not directed to me, just kind of off in the background. I'd like to reiterate, we were really focused on the patient at that point. We were trying to provide care.
Thank you, sir.
Direct.
So now, after Mr. Brennan asks you a few questions, now you remember her saying, I hit him a bunch more times, correct?
I remember hearing it in the background several other times.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Never mentioned that on direct examination, did you?
I don't remember being asked about it, sir. I remember saying what was asked to me.
You were asked, did you ever hear the defendant, Ms. Reed, say anything about the hit? And your answer was, she said to me, in answer to my question, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him 3 times, and that's it.
To me.
You didn't clarify that, oh my gosh, she's running around like a chicken with her head cut off, screaming, I hit her to everybody else under the sun.
It was, again, It was behind me in the background
Right.
as I was providing patient care. Again, that was not my focus.
Okay, so you didn't really hear her say anything in the background, because you weren't focused on that, right?
I remember hearing a generalized commotion in the background, but again, that was not our focus.
So generalized commotion is very different than hearing her say, "I hit him," to other people, correct? You'd agree with that?
Yes, sir.
So what you actually heard was the chaos and the commotion of a chaotic scene, correct? In the background.
In the background.
As you focused on your patient care, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, not specific words coming out of my client's mouth, correct?
To the question that I posed,
It's the
do you
victim.
know him?
You're right. We're off that question.
Okay.
That question, I got it.
Yes, sir.
Triple I hits.
Correct.
But with regard to what Mr. Brennan just asked you, the generalized commotion, to use your phrase, in the background, you didn't hear any specific words coming out of my client's mouth, did you?
I heard I hit him. But again, it was in the background and it was not my focus.
Well, why didn't you say that on direct? That's kind of an important point. That's why you're here.
Again, if it was neglected on my part, it was not intentional.
Not intentional to neglect that part for the jurors on direct examination.
No, sir.
Certainly not intentional to neglect that part of your testimony on cross-examination.
No, sir.
But you decided to bring it up on re-cross-examination when Mr. Brennan is asking you questions again, correct?
It was asked of me. Yes,
And
sir.
it was after, of course, that your new statement that you've never testified to before, ever, is this generalized commotion included a bunch of items in the background, correct?
Sir.
And that comes after you saw the video that clearly shows that when you described having heard this statement, my client was nowhere around you, correct?
That segment of the video that you showed me,
Yes.
that was not the time frame in which she said that to me.
Well, that was the time frame when Flamati was giving CPR, correct?
He was doing CPR down prior to that as well.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Well, you just testified that you saw him standing up in a big yellow jacket and then kneel down and start giving CPR. We just watched that video.
But again, the clip of the video that you showed me,
Right.
that was not the segment in which she said that to me.
And that's what you're saying now. But what I'm asking is, you described a very distinctive scene, a very, very specific scene.
Yes, sir. I
Right.
remember it vividly.
She said that I hit him, friend, when Giovanni was down giving CPR, and you were kneeling down giving airway support, and he was doing rhythmic CPR chest compression.
Yes, sir. That's what happened.
And then I showed you that very scene, didn't I?
Is you showed me that clip prior to that.
I showed you the very scene that you described where Flamani gets down and starts chest compressions and never stops until the gurney is taken off the frame of the camera to the Isn't that what I showed you?
That is
Sure. I don't know if I can do it again. I showed you the scene where firefighter Flamani gets down on his knees, begins chest compressions, and never stops
Secondhand
until that
embarrassment.
gurney is taken off camera, off frame, into the ambulance. That's the clip I showed you, correct?
that's the clip you showed me.
And that's exactly when you described your vivid memory from 3.5 years ago. That's exactly the scene that you described when my client supposedly said, "I hit him" to you, correct?
Again, the clip that you showed me, that was not when it was said. That segment that you showed, that was not when it was said. It was said prior to that, when the
Yeah.
three of us were together.
So Flamati was not giving chest compressions then.
He was. The CPR was a continuous effort throughout the resuscitation.
But we saw him start it. Officer, firefighter Nunnall, we saw him start it. We saw him walk into the frame, kneel down, and begin the chest compressions, didn't we?
We did.
And at no point, at that time or after, did my client even approach you, did she, in that clip?
She did.
What?
Objection.
Who just objected?
Sure, sure. Do you need to see the,
Yes. Show him.
Yes, please.
Show him the clip
We're not
again.
going to show a video again.
Oh, come on.
We've seen 2 videos. Which one is marked?
the The
The
Common
one
Voice.
with the timestamp at
Right.
the
It's
top?
the exact same video. One has timestamp, one doesn't. Just to be clear, you described a very detailed scene in which firefighter Flamati got down on the ground on his knees and began CPR.
Yes, sir.
We saw a clip that it played fully through. Starts and stops, but it played fully through, correct?
Yes, sir.
That was true and accurate video of what happened that day,
Yes, sir.
that morning, correct?
Correct.
And from the time firefighter Flamati began his CPR, he never stopped. Went all the way through until Gurney was taken off the camera, correct?
Correct.
You also described very clearly before you saw the video that the time when my client walked over and you had this dialogue and you heard this statement, it was during the time that firefighter Flamati was given the CPR, correct? You described it.
Yes, sir.
But when we actually see firefighter Flamati giving the CPR, as per your description, at no time did my client walk over and have a conversation with you, did she?
She did in the video.
Sir, at this point in time, I'm going to advise you, not that I am a law person, I'm going to advise you to just say my recollection may not be as great as I once thought it was. And just leave it at that. At the very most. Or least. See, I even said the word wrong.
In the portion that Mr. Brennan played you, was firefighter Flamati giving CPR at that point?
As I said previously.
Was he or was he not? Yes or no?
Objection.
I'm going to let the witness answer the question.
Firefighters Kelly and Flamati were trading off CPR.
That's not what you
Tony
said,
started
sir.
doing CPR, and it was passed off at one point to firefighter Kelly.
He's getting
Firefighter
heated.
Kelly at that time was a BLS EMT. Firefighter Flamati was a paramedic. They're going to move towards firefighter Kelly performing CPR because at that time his skill set was not as advanced as firefighter Flamati's.
Now
That's
you're
twice.
remembering all that, huh?
But they did switch off. That is a routine cardiac arrest. We switch off compressions.
But the video that Mr. Brennan showed you was earlier in time, a few seconds or a minute or two earlier.
Yes, sir.
You'd agree with that, correct?
I would.
And firefighter Flamati had not begun CPR, had he?
I don't believe so.
That's right, he hadn't. But that's the time that my client walked over your general area, correct?
Correct.
Before CPR was started, correct?
CPR was started immediately, sir.
That's
Can we
not.
wrap this up?
I don't know if you can, Judge.
Give you a couple more minutes.
He just rolled his eyes.
Do you understand the confusion?
Objection.
Sustained.
All right,
Sorry for
couple more
yelling.
questions on this. The video
What is the purpose of the
Mr.
face?
Brennan showed you,
Yes, sir.
and you pointed to and said, oh, that's the time when she walked over and said the statement.
Yes, sir.
Remember that?
I do.
Firefighter Flamati was not even kneeling down giving CPR, was he at that point?
No,
The answer is yes or no?
no.
Okay, he was not. Later, as the video continues to run, at some point, we see firefighter Flamati enter the screen, kneel down in that bright, reflective yellow jacket, and begin CPR, correct?
Yes, sir.
You had previously said that when you heard the statement and she walked over to you, it was when firefighter Flamati was giving CPR, correct?
Yes, sir.
And at no point, you'll agree with me, we just played the video, at no point after he started giving CPR did my client come anywhere near you. Isn't that what the video showed?
That was the segment that you showed me.
You indicated on recross,
Sir, just say, I'm sorry, I suddenly got a migraine, I can't think straight. I need to get some medical help right now, so I need to step down. And then contact your lawyer.
Because he's about to get caught for perjury.
I mean, what else is he supposed to do here other than say, I'm remembering it wrong? Or if he lied, say, I lied. Something. Anything. Waving the white flag, are you? He should be. He should be waving the white flag. I don't like this. You know how when we had Lori Daybell's hearing, I said, this doesn't seem like a real trial. It seems like a freaking movie. And I said I'd never been able to say that before. I find it really ironic that we get to say it twice because I'm seeing the same damn thing here. Yeah, that's right. The cockiness has left the building.
I'm sorry, to redirect, that Mr. O'Keefe did not have any injuries to the left side of his body.
Not that I recall.
Isn't it true that in addition to the egg on the right side of his head, he also had a black eye on the left side?
I remember that the swelling had started to, it's referred to kind of as raccoon eyes. It's a bruising of both eyes.
Hold on. You
I
lied.
remember saying, in answer to the question, did it look like, in addition to the egg on the right side of his head in the front, did he also have a black eye on the left side? Your answer is, if memory serves correct, yes.
Yes, sir.
So it's not true that he didn't have any injuries on the left side of his body or face, correct?
That swelling kind of migrates over time.
That doesn't matter. He asked
That
you
is
what.
a common occurrence for both eyes to be swollen.
Did he have an injury to the left side of his face?
He did not.
Did he have a black left eye?
Yes, he did.
Would you consider a black eye an injury?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you the question again then. Did he have an injury to the left side of his face?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
That's your you can't handle the damn truth moment right there. I'm getting mad that he's up there. Like, this is really making me mad now. I hit my elbow and everything. Yeah, I just got into that moment.
One last question. You indicated that it was a chaotic scene outside on that front yard.
Yes, sir.
Fire engines, ambulances, patrol vehicles, engines running, diesel engines, flashing lights, people screaming, people talking over the howling wind, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever see the horror come out the front door?
Don't recall.
Do you don't recall? Or did
I have no idea who the homeowner is.
And you never saw anybody come out the front of the house?
No, sir.
That's all I have.
One issue. Briefly.
Where is she, Councilor Tybar?
Sidebar. And I'm going to take this opportunity to run to the little girl's room because I've been sitting here for hours. I really have to go. I tried holding it. I'm sorry, but I gotta pee. I'll be right back. I'll keep this playing, but I expect y'all to fill me in if I miss something. Mila, Mama, gotta go potty. Oh my god, I can't move. It's so, my whole body's so stiff. But if I say it's only on my right side and it's really on my left side, does that count?
I thought you said you were gonna. Oh, never mind.
I'm going to the bathroom.
No, I thought you said you were gonna play it. I didn't hear
It is
anything.
playing. They're inside
Yes,
the bar.
I know. I see it. Sorry, guys. That was accidental. Let's see if we can get this a little bit closer. There we go. See? There we go. Yeah, he definitely cameraman. Yes, I suck at being a cameraman.
Sir, Mr. Jackson's questions, he asked if you had ever said that you heard the defendant say, I hit him, separate from when she approached you. Do you remember previously testifying that you heard her saying, I hit him in the background, separately from you?
Yes, sir.
And you remember testifying that before under oath
Yes, sir.
in court?
I do.
Anything, Mr. Jackson?
Yeah, just a second, Your Honor.
Yes.
Just a quick question, Firefighter Nuttall. When you were asked to recite your memory of that day on February 8th, 2022, just 10 days after this incident, did you ever say that you heard in the background, I hit him over and over again?
I don't recall.
All right.
When you testified at the grand jury, last question, when you testified at the grand jury, did you ever say that?
I don't recall.
But again, remember you're better now. That was that.
Yes, sir.
All right. Firefighter Nuttall, you are all set.
Thank you.
All right, your next witness, Mr. Brennan?
Thank you. The Commonwealth calls Kerry.
I feel like we need time to recover after that witness. Really seriously run, because you might be running from some charges. No, but they had burn marks on them from lying so much, you know, liar, liar, pants on fire. Holy, we're only one witness in. And there has been bomb after bomb after bomb. I thought Lori Daybell's trial was insane.
Because they've gone back and forth just with this one person.
I know. Let's hope the next witness isn't going to be too long because he's making tacos, so.
Roberts.
Somebody with last name Robert. Hey, remind me to order a new notebook. It broke. See? I literally have to.
In the stand, I did have an exhibit I would like to introduce to play for the jury.
Okay.
And this is clip 2.
No objection from the defense?
Yes, most of us have never watched this, so please don't give anything away.
And you're marking this as an exhibit?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Defendant's
Do
interview.
you have something for the court reporter to mark?
And putting it on a zip drive, we can discuss collecting all the clips and putting them on the same zip drive, or we can use different zip drives, whatever the court's preference is.
So we need something. So we need something physical. You can play it and then we'll mark it.
Ms. Gilman, do you have a separate clip?
Jim, is that right?
Thank you. I can have this marked, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Roberts, please. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Nita. I totally
We'd like to play
forgot.
this first and then call Ms.
Oh, okay, I'm
Roberts.
sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I remember it, but I question do I remember it because it's been relived so much. I mean, when I see the video of me driving from the waterfall, like what I just described, tapping the brakes when I crossed the intersection of Washington over Sherman Street, do I actually remember that I kind of slowly proceeded through that green light? No, I don't actually remember that. But I've seen the video so many times that you then question, did I remember on my own? Or was it a memory jug? But I also wondered, didn't I say could I have hit him? Or was it told to me that I said I hit him? And I knew I never could have said that, so the closest I must have said was, did I hit him? I don't know I said I hit him, but did I really say it as many times as law enforcement's claiming I said it?
Well, damn.
Thank you. I now call Kerry Roberts.
I'm just gonna shut up. Okay, have fun.
Report the jury in the case down here to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Thank you.
Jenny, yes. I'm taking off my face, sorry.
All right, Mr. Brennan, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Roberts.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to this jury?
Hi, my name is Carrie Roberts.
Ms. Roberts,
Carrie
where do you
Roberts.
live?
I live in Canton, Massachusetts.
How long have you lived in the area for?
I was raised in the Boston area, North Shore, South Shore. I went to high school in Braintree and I moved to Canton about 12 years ago.
Do you live alone?
No, I live with my husband and 2 children.
How old are your children presently, this day?
My son is 13, my daughter's 15.
And do you work?
Yes, I do.
Without identifying specifically where, can you share with us a little bit about what you do?
I'm an executive assistant and I've been with my company for 18 years.
Ma'am, if you could just move the microphone just a tiny bit closer. Thank you very much. You have 2 children, you're
Yes.
married,
Yes,
and you live in the area.
yes.
I want you to tell us whether you know a person by the name of John O'Keefe.
Yes, I do.
Would you be willing to share with us when you first met Mr. O'Keefe?
Well, I went to high school with John in Braintree. He played soccer, I played soccer, so we probably hung out in middle school, but we went to 2 different middle schools. And then I hung out with him more in high school. He was a year older than me. His sister was 2 years older than him in school, and his brother was younger, so at some point I was in high school with each of his siblings.
Did you at some point become friendly with John O'Keefe?
Yes.
Could you tell us about that?
When his sister Kristen passed away, and then her husband Steve passed away, they lived in my neighborhood. John took over for the children and moved into my neighborhood as well.
When John took in the children, did you offer any assistance or any help to him?
Yes, before John was even going to take over, he was going to potentially move in with his brother-in-law and the children to help out. And then when his brother-in-law passed away unexpectedly, John took over and I jumped in because I was a friend from high school that he knew, and he had all kinds of people helping, but he sort of said, I'm going to lean on you for right now because I know you best. And I knew his parents and his siblings, and so I introduced him to my husband and we jumped in. It was, preschool drop-offs, preschool pickups for my son and his son. And just from then until the time of his death, we were just friends, very close friends, and we hung out all the time. The children hung out all the time, and he was the emergency contact list at my children's school to call if something had happened.
Were you close friends before he took over the care of the children?
No, I wasn't very close friends with him then.
Were you close with his family before he took over care of the children?
No.
Did your friendship with him develop after he took care of the children?
Yes.
You mentioned you have a son?
Yes, I do.
And is your son the same age as John's nephew?
Yes.
Was there any common interests or activities that engaged your son with John's nephew?
Well, they went to in-home daycare together. They went to preschool together. They went to pre-K together. Then they went to elementary school. They played baseball together since they were T-ball. My son plays hockey. Patrick tried hockey. He didn't like that. So we spent a lot of time at the baseball fields together.
As you spent a lot of time together and had mutual care of children, did your relationship with him grow closer?
Yes.
And can you share a little bit with the jury how close you became?
Well, John was a bachelor and he didn't have any children of his own. So when he took over for the children, he sort of, leaned on us to kind of guide him and, all the things to do if there's if someone has a headache and, if there's an ear infection or, he had his mom and dad also helping as well, but I was right up the street. So if I would go to BJ's, I would call and say, can I grab you anything? If I would go to Walmart, any of the places I would go, I would call and say, do you need anything? Can I help you? Can I grab something for you? And he did the same. We just sort of all chipped in, helped.
As your friendship grew, could you tell us a little bit about your relationship with John?
John and I were very close. We spoke on the phone and hung out. He became very close with my husband as well because he was right down the street. But we just had a friendship, a very close friendship.
Tell us about the day-to-day activities and how you would try to assist John with the children.
Well, John moved across town. I don't remember when. I forget how many. Patrick, I think, was in 5th grade or 4th grade. And I would take him home with me on Wednesdays because John would be working. So
Yeah.
it was more of a, if he was at my house and my daughter needed a ride the other side of town, he would take her with him. We were just very close friends. We did a lot together. We would do baseball tournaments together. We would have drinks together. We would, all the things friends do.
As you grew closer to John and helped with the children, did you become closer with his family?
Yes.
And who specifically did you become closer with?
Mrs. O'Keefe and Mr. O'Keefe, his parents, and Paul, I would see from time to time, but not a lot. He doesn't live in Canton. But Mr. and Mrs. O'Keefe would be there all the time to help as well. And Mr. O'Keefe would take my son and Patrick, the nephew, out to Dunkin' Donuts all the time.
Can you tell us a little more about the collective effort of other people, including his family, helping John raise these children?
There was a lot of us that jumped in to help. It was not just me. There was a lot of Kaylee's friends' parents that jumped in and helped out for Kaylee, his niece, and Patrick. There was a lot of us that helped out with Patrick. All of the community all came together to help him because there was this guy that just lost his sister and brother-in-law, and he stepped in to take care of his 2 kids, and he didn't really know what he was doing at first, but he got the hang of it pretty quickly.
You have a son that shared a lot of interests with his nephew.
Yes.
He also had a niece.
Yes.
Did you spend more time helping with his nephew or with his niece?
With his nephew.
Were there other people in the community you knew of who spent more time helping with his niece?
Yes.
And who was that?
Jen McCabe.
Did you know Jen McCabe?
I had met her once. John got a discount at Reebok, so he would take the kids, he would take anyone with kids up with him to get shoes, like sneakers for back to school or whatever. So one day he did take Jen and I up to Reebok, but other than that, I'd never talked to her on the phone. I never saw her out. Her children are older than mine, so we never really crossed paths.
As it relates to the night of January 29, 2022, how much earlier was it that John took you out with the children and Miss McCabe out with her children to get sneakers? How many years before that?
Years, like 6 or 7 maybe.
And from that time you met Jen McCabe in the years past, did you ever spend time with her again before January 29th, 2022?
No, I did not. I didn't know her.
Were you friends with her?
I was not.
Did you speak on the phone with her?
No, I did not.
So other than that one meeting, you were strangers?
Yep, that was the only time. I knew her. I knew of her. She has 4 girls, but I didn't know her.
At some point, as you were part of John's life, did you learn that he was dating a person by the name of Karen Reed?
Yes, I did.
And do you see that person here in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Could you point her out and describe an article of clothing that she's wearing?
She has a black suit jacket seated at the front table.
When did you first become familiar or know about Miss Reed?
July, I think it was, of 2020. John, we were having people over, and so I invited him, and he said, I'm going to bring Karen over. And I was like, I don't know who that is, but okay. He assumed I knew because he had been dating her for a little bit, but it was COVID, so we didn't see him very often during that time. So Karen came over that night.
And this is early 2020?
I think it was summer, so I think it was around June or July.
Briefly, just tell us a little bit about where and the circumstances of meeting John and Karen for the first time.
They came over to my house and we hung out on the back porch, had some drinks, there was music, the kids were around, just a nice normal summer night. We had other people over as well.
Over the next coming months, did you become more familiar with the defendant?
Yes.
Did you see her more often?
Yes.
And could you generally describe to the jury how you learned more of her and saw her more often?
She would take care of the kids a lot, not mainly Patrick, but not mainly Kaylee either. She helped out a lot with the kids, so if we were at baseball, she would come to all the baseball games, or she would drop off or pick up my son or Patrick if they were going to the golf course or the driving range.
Would you see her during events with your son and John's nephew?
Yes, we did baseball tournaments, and
would you go to baseball tournaments? Would that be an overnight type trip?
one of them was down the Cape.
How often would you spend time with John and the defendant?
Not that often together, but John would stop by himself. My husband would go out more with John, but I didn't spend much time with the two, not a lot of time outside of the baseball field.
Did you become friends with the defendant?
We were friendly.
Did you ever spend time alone to go out or socialize?
I did not.
Would you see her when you would pick up or drop off kids, or she would pick up or drop off kids?
Yes.
Did you ever speak to her on the phone?
Yes.
In relation to what?
Corresponding with the kids, pick up, drop off, mainly Ryan and Patrick, not about Kaylee.
Did you ever spend any important dates or times or holidays with John and Miss Reed?
No.
I want you
Mila's like, Mommy, I heard courtroom drama. This true crime kitty is in the room.
to take us ahead to January 28th, 2022.
Okay.
On January 28th, 2022, do you remember that day?
Yes.
And generally, what do you remember about the day of January 28th, 2022?
There was a blizzard coming, and it was my daughter's friend's birthday. So we were going to be going out celebrating that night, but we did it on the early side because there was a blizzard coming.
What was your plan for that evening?
We went bowling. We got dinner, then we went bowling, and then I came home because I wanted to be in before the snow started.
Had you communicated in any way with John that day?
Yes. He texted me. My son had had an issue at school. Patrick had been dismissed, I think, for a doctor's appointment. So he did text me to see how my son was doing.
Did you simply text, or did you get a chance to speak to him that day?
I believe we just texted.
Did you go out that night after bowling?
No, I did not.
Was your husband home?
Yes.
Did he go out that night?
He did. He went out with John.
And do you know where he was planning on going?
They went to McCarthy's, a bar in Canton Center.
Had you been to McCarthy's before?
Yes.
Can you just briefly describe what McCarthy's is?
It's a restaurant bar. There's a large bar in the middle, the seating on the left and the right. It's right in the center of town.
Do you remember about what time your husband went out?
I do not remember exactly. I don't know if I got home and then he went out, or if he was already gone when I got home. I don't remember, but it was he went out around the same time that I arrived home, which was on the earlier side.
How many times had you been to John's home, would you say, over the past couple of years before this night?
Oh, many.
Many times?
Many times.
Were you familiar with the house and the driveway?
Yes.
May I approach you?
Yes.
Should I return to the podium and ask the questions?
You can ask them from there.
Thank you. Ma'am, I'd ask you to take a look at that photo in front of you. Do you recognize what is in that photo?
That is John's house.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of how his house looks?
Yes, it is.
I'd like to move this into evidence, please.
Okay, any objection?
No objection. May I publish to the jury, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful house.
Thank you. Continue. I've shown you a second photo. Do you recognize what's in that photo?
Yes, that's John's driveway.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of how John's driveway appears?
Yes, it is.
I'd move that into evidence. No objection.
Okay.
Exhibit 7 somewhere.
May I publish?
Yes.
Renee, you just missed your niece. She's been here.
Thank you. I'm showing you a third photo. Do you recognize what's in that photo?
Yes.
And could you share with the jury what's in that photo?
It's the side of John's house looking up from the driveway.
Is there anything you notice on the side of the house?
The lights. Or the ring camera.
Are you guessing or do you know that's a
No, I know there's one there.
And how do you know that?
Because I got a ring camera and I could look and see who was at my door. And then he said, why didn't you tell me about these things? So he bought one.
I move to introduce this photo.
Okay.
No objection.
Thank you.
Exhibit 8.
If you're just coming in and you're like, I didn't get to see the rest of it, don't worry. I'll be uploading it tonight on my YouTube. There's a lot of notes. A lot of notes need to be had. A lot.
May I publish, Your Honor?
Yes.
Ms. Roberts, with the laser pointer, could you just point at the picture and show where the ring camera is?
On this screen?
Yes, please.
Whichever one you can do.
Why isn't it working?
Don't tell us.
It's on.
Okay, well, you know what, rather than use the pointer, why don't we describe where you see the ring camera on that picture?
It's in where the two lights are under the top window.
Okay, thank you. We can take that down, please.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the follow, Linda.
How many times would you guess you had been over to his house?
I don't know. More than 50,000. I don't even know.
More
A
than
lot.
50,000.
It was weekly.
That night you told us that your husband went out to meet
How are
John
you?
at McCarthy's bar.
Yes, he did.
Do you remember your husband coming home that night?
Yes.
Do you have any memory of about what time he returned?
I'm guessing, but somewhere around 10:30.
So I'm not going to let you guess. Do you know? Do you have a...
I don't know. It was around 10 or 10:30. I can't be exact.
Did you see him come
Tell
home?
me that before
Yes.
we leave.
What was the forecast for that night and the next morning?
There was a blizzard coming.
Was that part of the decision making of going out or staying home?
Yes.
At that time, when your husband came home, did you look outside? Do you have any memory of what the weather looked like?
Okay, Linda, but we're doing this as the virtual jury, so many of us have never even heard of this case. We're just doing it as is.
Around 10:30.
I remember the snow started to fall somewhere around 12 because I remember looking out the window and I could see it starting.
And that was the beginning of the snowfall?
I believe so.
What was the weather out that night?
The weather that night, I think, was fine. It was cold, but it wasn't snowing yet.
It's okay.
I want to move forward ahead. At some point that night, did you go to sleep?
Yes, I did.
Did you sleep through the night, Ms. Roberts?
Yes, I did.
Okay. At some point, did you wake up?
Yes, I did.
I want you to tell us
I would
what
hope
was
you
the
woke
reason
up.
that you woke up.
I got a phone call at 5 o'clock in the morning from Karen Reed.
Were you expecting a call?
No, I was not.
Had you ever received a call at 5 in the morning from Miss Reed before?
No.
Share with us what happened that morning. What did you hear?
Karen called and the first thing she said was, Carrie, John's dead. And then she hung up.
Carrie. 3 times, are you sure?
When she said that, did you have a chance to have a conversation with her?
No, I did not.
Describe her.
Things happening in threes in this trial has not been good with the people up on the stand. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It hasn't worked out well so far.
Demeanor when she said that.
She was yelling loud enough, my name. I think it was 3 times, it might have been 2. She was yelling loud enough that she woke my husband.
Your husband was sleeping next to you?
Yes, he was.
Was she loud, yelling, screaming?
Yes, she was very loud. She was screaming.
After she said, Carrie, John's dead, did you know what she meant?
No.
And did you say this was around 5:15?
This is at 5. She called me at 5 on the dot.
After she hung up, what did you do?
I was half asleep still. I didn't know what was going on. So I started to get up and I think I tried to call her back. I know I tried to call her back, but I don't know exactly when because I was like, what? So my husband said, what was that? I said, I don't know. Something's going on. I don't know what's going on. That was Karen. And then I tried to call her back. I know I tried to call her back, but I don't know if she answered or if she called me back the next time I spoke to her.
After she called you again, did you have another discussion or did you hear her say something else the second time you spoke to her?
Yes, the second time she said, I think something happened to John. I think he got hit by a plow. He didn't come home last night. Kaylee was home. He would never leave her by herself, and I was not supposed to stay at the house last night. So I think something happened to him.
Did she say anything about drinking?
Yes, she said, we drank so much, I don't remember anything from last night. And I said, okay, where are you now? She said, I'm driving. And I said, you need to go home. Where's Kaylee? And she said, at home. I said, you need to go home and be with Kaylee. She cannot handle this, thinking, her uncle's missing. I said, you're going to get a DUI. You need to go home.
Was there anything else in the conversation that she said to you at that time?
She said, I'm going to drive to your house. Would you drive my car? And I said, yes. So at that point, I started to get dressed. I turned on the automatic car starter so it would warm up. Told my husband, I don't know what's going on. John didn't come home. And so I think my husband tried to call him and I tried to call him. And my husband said, you're not going anywhere. It's a blizzard. He's probably on somebody's couch. And I was like, I know, but she's really upset. I'm just going to go. She wants to come here. I'm going to drive her car. And then I went out to my car and sat and waited for her.
When you called John, did you get any response?
No, I did not.
As you were waiting for the defendant, did you make any other phone calls?
I did. When I was in the car, I thought to myself, well, she thinks he got hit by a plow. I'm going to call the police and see if there was an accident or maybe something happened. They brought him in. And I spoke to the officer who said, no, nothing of that sort. I've been here all night. And then I called the Good Samaritan Hospital and Milton Hospital to see if they had anybody that was taken in an accident.
When you called the police to look for Mr. O'Keefe, did you call 911?
No, I called the non-emergency line.
Do you know if that call was recorded?
I believe so.
All right, I'd like to introduce an exhibit.
Okay. Any objection?
No objection.
Okay.
When you called the police, what was your level of worry at that point?
I wasn't super worried. I mean, he didn't come home, but they were out drinking. So I assumed, like my husband said, he's probably on somebody's couch.
The second call you had with Miss Reed, can you describe her demeanor in that second call?
She was frantic. She was frantic. I mean, she couldn't find John, so she was very worried.
How soft or loud was that phone call?
It wasn't as loud as the first one, but it wasn't a regular conversation.
With court's permission, I'd like to play the exhibit of the call.
Okay?
I have no knowledge.
They were at waterfall, and now she is calling me hysterical because she doesn't know where he is. You didn't take that gun outside the name of John Keith, did you? Yeah, he's about to call, and it'll be on film, so. And she probably got a ride and got to someone's house, I don't know, but.
Yeah, no, we didn't want anybody else or anything like that. And where did he live?
He lives on the ground level.
He lives on the ground, okay, and you're waiting, so that home, he said his girlfriend?
With his girlfriend, yeah, they were out having drinks, and then she left, and so because he got home at some point, and he never did.
Yeah.
And so, I said to her, my husband had been over with them earlier in the night, but then she came home, and he has custody of the niece and nephew because their parents passed away. And so she goes with the niece and nephew, and they're old enough to be home, and so she's nervous because he never goes home.
Yeah.
So she's like, I think something happened, and I said, okay. Well, so call the area hospital, and you'll be happy. I personally think you probably take him up to the doctor. I don't know.
She did say.
Did he drive out there?
No.
Okay. I think, again, it's one of those, it would be driven by you. You would have to, call in a patient, to talk to him, but I mean, as of right now, it's more, he didn't come home last night, because there's comments sometimes afterwards.
No, that's why. He didn't tell me.
Yes, but at this point, I don't know that Carrie Roberts' husband is a cop. That's all I'm saying. I don't know.
That's kind of like she's in the freaking out. So I think I called the hospital and then I called TSA police just to make sure they were looking and he's not the video or that sheet, but if anybody could pick him up.
Yeah.
To get it off. And we didn't have a little bit of party or something.
One day I wasn't there, I was stuck here, but we haven't get any calls, anything like that, nobody was arrested or anything like that, alright.
Well, thank you.
Alright, no problem, good luck.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Hi, Ariel, dear.
Were you in your car when you called the police station and the hospitals looking for John?
Yes, it was.
Do you know at that point whether anybody else had called the police station?
No, I don't know.
Do you know at that point if anybody else had called any hospitals?
I don't
How are
know.
you?
How long did you wait in your driveway?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Maybe like 7 minutes, 8 minutes.
What were the conditions like out that morning?
It was bad. It was in the middle of a blizzard.
When you were outside in your car in the driveway waiting, describe the lighting conditions for us.
It was still dark out. It was 5 o'clock in the morning and it was snowing, so it was not great.
How was the visibility?
Not great. It was coming down really fast at that point.
You said
We're doing this as a jury, but the opening statements and the first witness tell me that she should get off so far.
that night when you went to bed, the snow just started, had snow accumulated at that point?
No, I don't think so. It was just starting to stick.
I'm sorry, that was the night before, but at this point when you were in the driveway, had the snow accumulated?
Oh, yes.
Do you know how many inches it was?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Enough. But the plows are out.
As you were waiting for the defendant, did she arrive at your house?
She did not.
What happened?
Again, I don't know if I called her or she called me, but eventually we connected on the phone and she said, I said, where are you? I'm waiting. And she said, I'm at Jen's house. And I said, Jen who? And she said, McCabe, she's going to drive my car. And I said, okay, well, listen, They don't want cars on the road because it's so bad. I'm already in my car. I'll come there to Jen's house, stay there, and we'll follow each other and we'll go back and drop your car off. Did you look in the house for John? Could he just be in the house, passed out somewhere? And she said no, she hadn't looked in the house. So I said, okay, now I'm gonna come to Jen's. We're gonna take the car home, drop it off. We'll check around the house, and then I don't know what the next step at this point was. I just wanted to check the house.
At the time you directed that you were going to meet at Jen McCabe's house and then drive to John's house, was there any suggestion by the defendant where she wanted to go?
I didn't know where Jen's house was. I knew the street. I had dropped Kaylee off or picked her up a few times. So I said, stay on the phone with me so I don't know which house it is. And so when I got there, I pulled in the driveway and there was some conversation about...
Can I back you up and just ask you a little bit about the drive?
We are only on day one. We're viewing this just started today and we're doing it as a jury, so we've not put research into it. So please don't spoil anything, guys.
There, I don't mean to interrupt. When you left your house, you talked a little bit about the weather conditions. How long did it take you to get from your home to Jen McCabe's?
Oh, it's quick. Probably 4 minutes.
What was the driving like?
It was not good driving. That's why I didn't want two cars on the road.
Did you have any difficulty
I don't think so.
driving through that storm?
No, I mean, it was treacherous. But I was in four-wheel drive. I have an SUV.
You mentioned you didn't know exactly where Jen McCabe lived. Had you been there to drop off John's niece before?
Yes, but I didn't know which house it was because when I picked her up before, she was either getting out of the car at the driveway or waiting at the end of the driveway. So I didn't know which house it was.
I think I interrupted you, but were you telling us that as you drove to Jen McCabe's house, you were on a Bluetooth, on an open conversation with her to help with directions?
Yes, Jen and Karen were in Karen's car, and I was on the phone, essentially with both of them.
Do you know what type of vehicle the defendant was driving at that time?
A Lexus SUV.
As you drove over to Jen McCabe's home and you had some guidance finding it, did you hear any conversations in that open line with, or even any statements by the defendant?
I remember when I pulled in behind her car in Jen's driveway, and at some point Karen said, my taillight, and I looked, and Jen she must have had the brake done because you could see that there was missing taillight.
When you say missing taillight, was it merely cracked?
No, there was a piece missing.
Could you see that as you were parked right behind the defendant's SUV or Lexus?
She must have been applying the brakes because you could see it, but there was a lot of snow.
When you saw that the taillight had a missing piece, did you say anything?
No.
Did you think anything of it?
No.
How long were you parked behind the defendant's Lexus while it was parked in Ms. McCabe's driveway?
Not long. We were just, I pulled in and then we stopped, and then the next plan, at some point in that conversation as well, or maybe on the ride, because now we're heading to John's house to drop a car off. I pulled out of the driveway, Jen pulled out, and I followed behind all the way to John's house. And at some point, Karen said, I left him at Waterfall. And I heard Jen say, no, I saw you pull up in front of my sister's.
Was anything else said about the broken taillight?
No.
You followed Ms. McCabe?
Yes.
Where did you go?
To John's house.
Did you arrive?
Yes.
I want to ask you some questions about when you arrived and what you did next.
Okay.
When you arrived at Mr. O'Keefe's home, you were in two separate cars. Who pulled into Mr. O'Keefe's driveway first?
Jen pulled Karen's car in first.
So Ms. McCabe was driving the Lexus?
Correct.
And the defendant was in the passenger seat?
Yes.
After you both pulled in, tell us what happens next.
We went, I wasn't sure if it was, at some point Karen showed us the taillight up close, but I didn't know if it was when we arrived or when we left. But we went into the house to look for John.
When the Lexus was parked by Ms. McCabe in Mr. O'Keefe's driveway, was it facing the street or facing away?
Facing where the basketball hoop is, not facing the street.
I'd like to approach.
Okay.
Can I show you a photograph? Do you recognize what's in that photograph?
Yes, that's John's driveway. That's Karen's car on the left and John's car on the right.
Do you recognize both those cars?
Yes, I do.
Do you recognize that photo as a fair depiction of his driveway?
Yes,
Do you recognize it as a fair depiction of the motor vehicles?
yes.
Now, when you went there that night and you pulled in behind Mr. McCabe and the defendant, is there any differences between how that area looked when you pulled in as opposed to that photo?
Well, it was the early hours of the morning, so it was dark out, and there was much more snow. And there was snow coming down.
I'm so sorry. What thing?
Nope.
Other than the snow and the lighting, is there any other differences?
Nope.
I'd like to introduce this as an exhibit, please.
All right, there's no objection, Mr. Jackson.
No objection. With the court's permission, I'd like to publish.
Okay.
And to help us understand, you see on the left is the house.
Yes,
There's a motor vehicle in the middle of the driveway, but it's the vehicle to the left.
yes.
And whose vehicle is that?
That's Karen's.
Is that where it was parked that night when you went into the house?
Yes,
In the motor vehicle to the right, you recognize that?
that's John's car or SUV.
Thank you, you can take that down. I'm showing you a second photo.
Okay,
Do you recognize that photo?
yes.
What is it?
It's the back of Karen's car.
Does it look like a fair and accurate depiction of her car as it appeared that morning in the early morning hours to you?
Yes,
Do you notice anything that's distinguished in that photo?
the piece that's missing in the taillight.
Which one?
The right passenger rear.
Do you know when, I'm sorry, do you know when this photo was actually taken?
I do not.
Although you don't know when it was taken, is that a similar depiction to your memory of how it appeared that morning at 5?
Yes,
Or a little after 5?
yes.
I move to introduce this exhibit.
Okay.
Objection. The court's permission, I'd like to publish.
Yes.
We can take that down, please. After you arrived at Mr. O'Keefe's house, what was the plan to go inside? What were you looking to do?
To go inside and look and see if he was passed out somewhere. So we went in through the garage and I started looking. I think Jen ran upstairs to Kaylee's bedroom and I just started looking through the living room. Basement door was locked from the inside, so I knew he wasn't in the basement. And then I checked the other living room. He has a big house. Then I went to the top of the stairs to check his bedroom.
As you looked around, what was your mood?
What was my mood?
Yes, were you calm?
I mean, I was worried, so we would, at this point, Jen had already established that they went to her sister's.
Sustained.
Okay.
Jen had already
Let
told
me
her.
ask the
on,
question.
Miss
I'll
Rose.
ask the question better. My apologies. How many rooms did you look through in John's house?
1, 2, 5 or 6.
Did you see Miss McCabe looking in rooms as well, searching?
She went upstairs when I was looking downstairs.
At some point, as you were looking, did you see the defendant?
Yes,
Was she looking with you?
she was in John's room.
What was she doing?
She was just standing there when I came up to the top of the stairs.
Did she say anything?
No,
Did she do anything?
no,
Was she searching?
I don't know. She was in the room.
What happened next?
At some point, Jen earlier had said,
Well, let's not talk about what was said. Let's
Well,
just talk about.
the plan
as
at
you
this
can,
point
your-
is to
your
go to
memory of what was
34
said.
Fairview.
Ms. Roberts, I know that I'm just going to ask you to wait for a question because we can only get one person at a time. So next question, Mr. Brennan.
Again, my apologies. And so as you're looking through the house, you don't find John. What happens next?
The plan was to go back to Jen's sister's house.
Who made that plan?
Karen wanted to go back there.
Well, tell us a little bit about that. How did that conversation come up, and share with the jury what was said?
And the car ride to Meadows, Karen said, I left her at Waterfall. And Jen said, no, I saw you pull up in front of my sister's. So then Karen said, we need to go back to your sister's. And I said, no, we're going to go to Meadows and we're going to drop the car and we're going to look there. Then we'll go there if we don't find him.
When you were at the house, Meadows, John O'Keefe's house, and you didn't find him, was there any further conversation about what the next steps would be?
I said, let's go. He's not here. But I didn't know where Jen's sister lived. So we got into the car. Jen was in the passenger seat. I was driving my car. Karen was in the back seat. And Jen was giving directions.
Did you begin your way towards Meadows?
Yes.
And it was Ms. McCabe who was giving directions?
Yes.
As you began driving to head towards Meadows, in addition to trying to drive, were you doing anything like looking or searching?
Yeah. We were looking on both sides of the road. I was looking on both sides of the road in case he was walking home.
Did you see Ms. McCabe searching?
Yes, she was looking out as well.
So describe a little detail about what you saw Ms. McCabe doing.
She was looking out the window as we were driving. So was I, as I was driving.
And where was the defendant during that time?
She was in the back seat.
Was there any conversation, comments, statements?
Well, she would be in the back seat and then she would be in between Jen and I, in the back seat and then in between Jen and I. She was just very frantic.
Okay. Was she saying anything?
Specific, and there was conversation on the way there.
Okay. Was she looking as well? Did you see her looking out the windows like you and Jen?
I don't know if she was because she was in the back seat.
As you drove to Meadows, what was the visibility? The same or better or worse?
No, it was poor.
Did you make your way towards Meadows?
I did.
As you finally got to Meadows, was the house on your left side, your side, or on the other side?
Are you talking about Fairview or Meadows?
I'm sorry, Fairview.
Okay. The Fairview house came up on the left-hand side.
Before you got to the house, is there a tree line between that house and the house before it?
Yes. There's a cluster of trees and bushes.
All right, take us back. I want to talk about that morning. As you're driving and approaching Fairview, tell us what you hear, what you see, what's happening.
Jen's giving directions, and it was really bad driving. I was white knuckling because it was getting slippery. Karen wouldn't put on her seatbelt, so because she was in between us again the whole ride, and then sitting back. But she was worried because we weren't finding John.
Were you having words?
Yes.
Tell us.
I said to Jen, where are we heading? And she said, my sister lives on Fairview. And I said, where is that? She said, off of Chapman. I said, oh, okay, near Spring Lane. At some point, Bella's mom came up.
Tell me what that means.
I didn't know who it was, but it was one of Kaylee's friends, Bella's mom. The directions. At some point, Karen was talking about Bella's mom to Jen, saying she never liked me. I didn't know who this woman was that they were talking about. But apparently, Bella's mom lived near where Jen's sister lived on Fairview.
Did you learn any more about the relevance of Bella's mom?
No. Oh, well, I think John had dated her. I'm going to allow it.
So as you approach Fairview, tell us what happens.
As we approach Fairview at the house. You mean the house or the street?
Yes,
The house. Jen said, my sister's house is right up here. And I said, okay. And as we approached the house, Karen from the back seat is now screaming, there he is, let me the F out of this car. And she's out kicking the back door to get out.
When you heard the defendant scream, there he is, and started kicking the car door, did you see anything?
I did not.
Did you see anybody?
I did not.
Did you look?
I looked.
Was there anything that impeded your ability to see far?
No, it was just snow.
How far could you see when she was yelling, there he is?
How far could I see?
Yes.
I mean, the visibility wasn't great.
Okay. Was she pointing or giving any direction?
No. She just said, there he is.
Okay, what happens next?
And then I unlocked the car. I looked over, I didn't see anything, and I unlocked it so she could get out of the back seat. I looked at Jen and I said, she's crazy. And then I turned around and watched, and she ran over to a bound of snow.
When she started running, before she got anywhere, did you see anything at that point?
I did not.
Were you looking?
I was looking. She said, there he is, so I'm looking around to see where he is.
And you could see nothing?
I did not.
Did you see her run around or directly?
She ran right over to the mound of snow.
Could you tell what the mound of snow was from the car?
Once she got to it, yes, it was, once she got to it, you could tell it was a mound of snow that was the length of a body.
All right, I'm going to stop you there, Mr. Brennan. I need to see counsel at sidebar for just a minute, please, regarding.
It is questionable. Hey, I did not raise a bully.
No, Dr. Bullies.
Sorry, cat fight. Who is this man? Him. They keep going to him, and I don't know who he is.
All right, so Ms. Roberts, we're going to have you come back tomorrow.
Okay.
Jerry's, we're going to break for today, so we're going to send you home the same
Okay,
three
thank you.
cautions that I'll tell you every single day. Please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation in this case.
All right. So that's day one. Let me see how many pages of notes I have. I have 6 pages of notes. How many do you guys have? Thank you, Nita. I'm going to do that right now. That and go eat the tacos that my husband just finished cooking. I will upload this to YouTube, so if you guys missed any of it, don't worry. It'll be on my YouTube. Same name, Michelle's Criminal Musings. I will see you guys tomorrow at noon Central Time, and we will pick up there for day 2. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.